Be cool, be kind, be classy. The cupcakes are sweet and sexy. Have fun and enjoy the journey. Or just have a good attorney. No big whoop, no biggie. She lives near New York City. And not just a YouTube show. When you know, you better grab a straw. Learn about the law. It's cool here in the shade. Sipping motions of lemonade. Cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Oh, Melanie Little is going live. Oh no, where is Melanie? Follow the island's melody. There's a concert within reach. No surprise, she's at Jones Beach. She heard some music far away. Captain Jack Stack Harbor Bay. He sings and his piano plays. Not all sounds are waterways. Speaking Yiddish and Latin, it's not just for Manhattan. It's for Goethe and Machegas. Ridiculous that insanus. Oy vey, Marcus. Proset, that's for schmucks. Be cool, be kind, be classy. My cupcakes are sweet and sassy. And not just a YouTube show. When you know. Cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Melanie Little is going live.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. It's just another manic Monday. Today is Monday, December 15th, 2025. The jury is still out on the Brian Walshe trial out of Dedham, Massachusetts. How's everyone this morning? Happy snow day to those of you who got a snow day. No school here today. We got about, I don't know, maybe six inches here on Long Island. And we'll see how long it takes to get a verdict today. I don't know. Maybe it'll be today. Maybe it won't be. You never know. And I never, ever would bet on a jury because you just never know. Happy Hanukkah to my friends who celebrate. Yesterday was the first night of Hanukkah, and there was so much tragedy this weekend that I'm still a little bit spun about all of it. I haven't decided if we're going to talk about all the stuff that happened over the weekend or if we're going to stick with Brian Walshe this morning. And so there's just a generic thumbnail up today, and the clock is up in court. I imagine that Judge Reiner is going to greet the jury before she sends them out to deliberate, but she's typically very on time, and it is now 9:07. And I've not seen her yet. I'm not going to do another poll right now, but maybe later. I had some time to think too, and here's what I'm thinking. This kept me up all weekend, in addition to all of the other horrific things that happened, including Rob Reiner and his wife being murdered in their own home in California, and their son, their 32-year-old son, is a person of interest. And the horrific shooting that happened at Brown University, and those poor students were locked down for how long? Something like at least 12 hours. A lot of horrific things happened this weekend. It was in Brentwood. Yeah, it was in Brentwood. And they said yesterday when they announced it, they said 2 people have been found dead in Rob Reiner's home in Brentwood, California, a man and a woman. And I thought, I wonder if it's him. And then it turned out that it is him and his wife. And that horrific Bondi Beach shooting, 17 people lost their lives, all of it horrific. And maybe we can catch up on some of that stuff depending on what happens with the jury and how long they're out. Here's something that's been keeping me up. Thanks, prosecutorial misconduct, for your super chat. Here's something that's been keeping me up. We know that Anna Walsh's phone, the last time it pinged was on Reservoir Road in Cohasset, which is right here. Right? Reservoir Road in Cohasset. And when was it? Do you remember? Refresh my recollection as to the last ping on Anna's phone. I think it was sometime around the early morning hours of January 2nd. Right? They never recovered Anna Walsh's phone, right? I know that they did a canine search, and I know that they did a ground search behind the home. There were some woods. They did a ground search. And I know that they drained the pool. You know what they didn't do? Drag the reservoir. Look at how much water is surrounding the area where her phone last pinged. I don't know how big this Lily Pond is, but there's a reservoir here. How big that reservoir is. Did they ever drag the reservoir? Did they ever have any intellectual curiosity to try and find the body of Anna Walsh or the remains of Anna Walsh? And look at how close the ocean is, too. Okay, if this is where the phone last pinged, look at all this water. Massachusetts Bay. Heading out into the ocean. Did they search the mother's house? Not that I know of. Bondi Beach. Thank you very much, Tracy. It's Bondi Beach. Thank you. Sydney. I mean, was there ever any curiosity? Did they ever do a forensic? They could have gotten on his iCloud. Did they ever get on his iCloud? Here's Cohasset. I mean, I have so many questions. I mean, the bags that we saw him dumping in the dumpster, and we only saw, well, I remember the Vin and liquor stores dumpster footage, grainy. Looks like it could be him, looks like his car. But the bag that he dumped in that dumpster behind Vin and Liquors was small. So I have so many questions. A lot of water. Remember the orange buckets with the airtight lids? We never saw those orange buckets again. The only pictures of buckets that I remember seeing were blue buckets. The blue buckets that I saw in the basement. We saw orange buckets in the Home Depot cart. And we saw blue buckets in the, I think it was the Lowe's cart, right? Like, what the happened? Why didn't they get on his iCloud? Did they not get it? Did they ever take a statement from Diana Walsh? Did she just refuse to give them a statement? I have still so many questions. I don't know if these are things that the jury's going to want to know. Do they know if Anna Walsh actually was recuperating at the Walsh home from her surgery? Do they know if she ever had surgery? There's a lot of holes in this case. Why didn't they call the nanny? Excellent question. I went back and I was reading through my 2 full legal pads of notes. And one of the investigators from Cohasset PD, because that's the only guys they called who actually went to the house, right? Said that one day while they were coming in, the nanny was leaving. Anybody ever question the nanny? Anybody ever have any intellectual curiosity to question the nanny to see if the Walshes had a history of fighting all the time? I mean, the nannies know everything. The nannies know everything. The hairdressers know everything. And the people who do your nails know everything. Hold on. Well, I'll tell you how Anna's car got back to DC. That I can answer for you. So Anna flew in No, she drove home on Christmas Day. She said she missed her flight, but I thought, or she said the flight was canceled. But I thought that JetBlue said she had a ticket for 6:30 and she just she didn't get on the plane. So she spent the night, she spent Christmas Eve with Will Fastow, her lover. And then Christmas morning, Brian couldn't get a hold of her, remember, until around noon. And that's when he called Alyssa. And he's like, I know we did this. Oh, no. That was okay. He called Alyssa and he's like, she might get really mad at me, but I can't get a hold of her. Can you get a hold of her? And Alyssa was going to go over to her apartment or to her townhouse. But then she said she then heard back from Brian that he did hear from her. Don't worry about it. So Anna drove home. She drove from DC to Boston. Okay. That's like 400 miles. On a good day with no weather, it's like what, 8 hours? And she didn't get home on Christmas Day until 8 p.m. And then she drove back to DC. Right? She drove back to DC the next day on the 26th. Right? And then when she came back for New Year's Eve, she flew back on the 30th. And I think she had a ticket to go back on the 4th or the 3rd because she was going to have a meeting or a dinner. Will Fastow and Anna were going to celebrate their New Year's Eve on the 4th of January. And he wanted to discuss their 1, 3, 5, and 10-year plans. But according to Alyssa, Anna wanted Brian to come down to DC and wanted them all to be together. And she said that like 4 or 5 times. Sounds like I've never driven in DC traffic. I've driven in DC traffic. I've also driven in Boston traffic. I've driven in New York traffic, and I've driven in LA traffic. And out of all of them, LA is probably the worst. DC is bad too. On Christmas Day, I don't know how bad it would be. You think it would be more than 8 hours? It probably would be. I don't even remember if it was snowing because nobody asked about the weather in this trial. They loved asking about the weather in the Karen Read trial. But we didn't hear a whole lot about the weather in this trial, right? I never saw any real absolute 100% proof that he knew about the affair, but I will say this. Any spouse, man or woman, would be hella suspicious if their husband or wife did not show up home for Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, and Christmas Day with 3 young children. Anybody would be suspicious. Or you're the biggest idiot on the planet. And he very well may be the biggest idiot on the planet. That could be true. So there's no way he couldn't have been suspicious, right? Quinley, thanks for becoming a member. Parachuting matron saint of Karen Read, a sub since Maya wouldn't be anywhere else. Oh, the parachuting matron saint of the Karen Read trial. You remember who that was? Dr. Russell. We named her that. Said she's the matron saint of the Karen Read trial was Dr. Russell, Dr. Marie Russell. And boy, did they try and beat her up. She's one tough cookie. She could not be shooketh. And I remember Hank Brennan accusing her of parachuting into the case. You just parachuted into this case, didn't you? Was it Brennan or Lally who said that? Thanks, you guys. On top, thank you for your super sticker. Good morning, my friend and prosecutorial misconduct. We will think about doing another poll. Dispatch Debbie became a new member. Welcome, Debbie. And Maddie W. also became a new member. Welcome, you guys. What happened this weekend? Well, one of the things that happened was the pirate dinner. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Did anybody see a pirate dinner this weekend? Who gets the reference? If you know, you know. See who the first one is to get it. The pirate dinner. Where did they get those costumes for the pirate dinner? Landman. Thanks, Dizzy Lizzie. I won't spoil it if you haven't seen the new episode of Landman, but the pirate dinner is iconic. It's epic. The costumes, where did they get them? Angela, what is she thinking? I don't know. A lot of people don't like her character and the daughter's character. I feel like it adds a little levity to the to the season that it needs, or to the show anyway. Pluribus, I just finished. I'm caught up. I'm caught up on Pluribus. I'm caught up on that. And then whenever I watch it, I think there's a lot of filler in the last couple episodes. And props to Rhea Seehorn, who is practically acting in this entire series alone. You know how hard it is to carry an entire show and to be acting against yourself most of the time. She's in practically every scene by herself. She should definitely get nominated for an Emmy, don't you think? See, Kelly says, I think those characters are just there to drive him nuts. They did show a little bit of love for her and her crazy dinners during the pirate dinner, I thought, and that was nice. But I love Allie Larder, and I always have, and I think she's amazing, and she looks amazing. And do you know the daughter, the actress who plays the daughter, is something like 28 years old? Oh, did the Emmy nominations just come out? Here we go. We're in court.
Good morning, Your Honor. Continuation of the jury trial in Commonwealth versus Brian Walshe, indictment 2023-0091. Defendant and counsel are present in court. Counsel, if you'd once again identify yourselves to the court in the record, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Greg Connor for the Commonwealth.
Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. Ann Yaz for the Commonwealth.
Good morning.
Morning, Your Honor. Tracy Cusick for the Commonwealth.
Welcome.
Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning, everyone. Kelly Porges on behalf of Mr. Walsh.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Your Honor. Larry Tipton for Mr. Walsh.
Good morning to everyone. We had a little delayed start because one of our jurors is absent today, luckily. Is juror number 15, who is an alternate juror. I'll see counsel beside of the bench.
Okay, so they've lost a juror number 15, who happens to be an alternate. So that is good, because if it was one of the main jurors who is not an alternate, that would mean that they would have to start deliberations all over again after replacing an alternate with the juror who is absent today. What's the weather like up there, you guys? Did you get a lot of snow? Because it's so icy here that they canceled school. Oh, which White Lotus did I like the best? I like the Italy season. I like Italy the best because first of all, I love Italy. Been to Italy twice, I think, 2 or 3 times, and I love it there. And I loved everything about it. What about you? Which White Lotus did you like the best? Just a dusting. Okay, so there was no issue with people getting to court today. I was concerned about that, if they would call a snow day up there if the weather was bad. Elf is here for 23 months since this time has flown for me. I love being here. I love having you here. Desiderata is here. You know what? You gave me such a great idea. I think I'm going to buy all my kids Desiderata framed for Christmas and I'm sure none of them are watching today, but I want all of my kids to have Desiderata framed in their homes, because I had it growing up in my house as a kid. My father had a copy of it. It was his favorite poem, and we had it hanging on the wall. And so I memorized it, and I read it to you guys one day. And so I think I'm going to do that. She says, I binged The Beast in Me yesterday. I could easily see you in the role of Aggie. She was great. Thanks for the recommendation. I loved it. I didn't watch it yet. Wait, is that Claire Danes' character? Thank you for tuning in from Canada. Kelly Gorgeous hair on point today. Dyson working is just explaining to Brian what happened at Sidebar. They're having a little powwow, and luckily we can't see her face, so we can't lip read about what she's telling him, because attorney-client privilege and all. It's hard for me to watch more than one show at a time, but now that I'm caught up on Pluribus, maybe I can start The Beast in Me. I watched the Michelle Pfeiffer Christmas movie last night. Let me know if you've watched it. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's called, I don't even know what the name of it is, but it's a little bit dopey. But I love Michelle Pfeiffer. Oh, Emma, you got it? I think we'll read it. Maybe we should read it again today. I think today's a good day to read it. Maybe there's people who don't know. Desiderata. Another poem I find very interesting that I learned about from the Murdoch Hulu series is The Man in the Glass. Do you guys know The Man in the Glass? Waiting for the jury to come in. And I love how Judge Diane Frenier stands up to address the jury. And
Jurors entering, all rise.
Hear ye, all person having anything to do before the Honorable Diane Frenier, Justice of the Norfolk Superior Court. Draw near, give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth. You may be seated. Court is in session.
God save us from the Commonwealth.
Good morning, jurors.
Good morning.
Jurors, I'll start today. Hope you all had a nice weekend. We'll start today, as we have every morning of this trial, with the 4 questions. Jurors were able to comply with my order that you not speak to anyone about this case.
Yes.
Be able to comply with my order that you not do any research about this case.
Yes.
Be able to comply with my order that you not go on social media or any news media.
Yes.
And do you all still have open minds?
Yes.
Jurors, you may have noticed that we were delayed in starting today, and juror number 15, who is an alternate juror, is not here today for purely personal reasons. And it has nothing to do with this case and shouldn't impact your day in any way. But I didn't want to not make mention of the fact that juror number 15 isn't here, because then you might be wondering. It's purely personal, nothing related to this case. All right. So with that, jurors, I'll send you back to your deliberations. Thank you very much.
Jurors entering, all rise. Jurors, please bring your notebooks with you. Watch your step.
Follow me, please.
Just remind you of the 10-minute rule. Always be within 10 minutes of the courthouse. Thank you.
All rise.
They have a 10-minute rule in this courthouse. And I remember the 10-minute rule from when Karen Reed's jury was out. And they asked for more time to be able to get back to the courthouse because they had to set up shop more than 10 minutes away from the courthouse, because for trial number 2, I think they were not in the church right next door anymore. They had set up camp during trial number 1. The church next door allowed them to do that, the Reed defense team. And so they were a little bit further away. And with all the traffic and all the people there, it was hard for them to get back in within 10 minutes. And I don't remember what Judge Cannoni did with that. I think maybe she gave him something like 12 minutes, right? Bizer637 graduated law school with Kelly Porges. This is what she always wanted to do, defend those charged with heinous and serious crimes. I find her to be very engaging. I like her a lot. I feel like she has the soft touch, and I feel like it was good. It was good strategy to have her examining certain witnesses. And I like her a lot. Where did you go to law school? Tell us where you went to law school. Laura says, what could be worse than fearing your own child? R.I.P. Reiner's Bondi Beach. Hanukkah is really for kids. Terrible day for us Jewish people. Shalom. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's like one horrible thing, one horrible news story after another. Try and get the latest on that when we can. Thanks, Laura, for your 5. Proctorial misconduct says, LOL, it's proctorial. Don't. Oh, no, didn't I say proctorial? Did I say prosecutorial? It's proctorial. Don't want the prosecution after me. No. Don't worry. Don't worry. Thanks for your super chat. Miriam says, good morning. I've been here since the first Karen Reed trial. Love your channel and all you do. Thank you. God bless. Thank you. Thank you so much. Elle says, we address that one. Thank you. And David Reese lived in Napoli for 5 years. That's a pretty nice place to be able to live. I remember seeing Under the Tuscan Sun, and I was just like, I want to do that. I just want to move to Italy. Hamakaz, thank you so much for your 20. Says, good morning, beautiful friends. I think we will have a verdict this afternoon or tomorrow morning. We shall see. While you wait, go slap the like and subscribe. It's free. Much love. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Ashley said, where's Jim? Jim hasn't been on this trial at all, has he? I don't think Jim was on this trial at all. Maybe once pre-trial, but not during the trial. We would know. I know Jim's cough. I would know if it was Jim for sure. LD became a member. Welcome. Welcome. What do you guys want to do? Somebody said, let's go back and watch the JetBlue testimony. I wanted to kind of talk about the dumpster videos too. But first thing we need to do is pick our badass affirmation of the day. I put these on the Amazon list. I found them on Amazon. So they're on the list. There's a link to my Amazon list stuff, recommendations in the show notes. And if you're lucky, the Dyson might still be on sale for $3.99. A juror is out today. Luckily, it's an alternate, so it's not going to affect the jury. Because if it was a regular juror, they would have to start their deliberations all over again. All right, here we go. Badass affirmation of the day. There are a lot of people in the courtroom still. WBI Saza. This is a perfect one for today, my friends. Here's your badass affirmation of the day. They only talk shit about you because they envy your drive. Keep giving them reasons. Boop, boop. There you go. They only talk shit because they envy your drive. Keep giving them reasons, my friends. All my badasses out there. Where does Walsh wait for the verdict? That's a good question. I don't know if he goes into holding. He might go into holding. They do have a holding cell right outside in the courthouse. And they do escort him out. I don't think he's going to be, hanging out watching TV or anything. That is a good affirmation. You know what? Let's read. Desiderata. It's for those who don't know the poem. Because there's so much horrific nastiness out there in the world that sometimes we need to just get grounded and just remember what matters, in my opinion. And so for those of you who don't know this poem, welcome. So it was written by Matt Ehrman in 1927. And let's pull it up. We have a lot of air to fill today, so there's a lot of things to talk about. if you're tired of talking about the Brian Walshe case. Let's see if we can make that a little bit bigger. Desiderata by Max Ehrman, 1927. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others. Even to the dull and the ignorant, they too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter. For always, there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. I don't know why this green box keeps popping up here. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially do not feign affection, neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many tears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life. Keep peace in your soul. With all its sham drudgery and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy. That is the poem Desiderata, written by Max Ehrman in 1927. And I don't think it even really became famous until after his death. I love that too. As does Desiderata, who changed her name for the poem. Other news of note, and if you're just tuning in, this is something that I was keeping me up over the weekend. The last pinging of Anna's phone. Let's just pull this up one more time. Anna's phone last pinged, I think it was on January 2nd, if anybody knows the exact time. I think it was in the early morning hours of January 2nd. Pinged on near Reservoir Road. And here it is, the map. The map. And while I remember them doing canine searches for Anna and ground searches and draining the pool at the Chief Justice Cushing Highway, what I do not remember them doing is dragging the reservoir or any other bodies of water nearby. And aside from the ocean and all the bays, right, here's Cohasset. Look how close it is to the water, but there's also a reservoir right here. No, I'm sorry, that's Lily Pond. And there's a reservoir right here. Did they have enough intellectual curiosity to get an iCloud download of Anna's phone? Not that I heard. Anna's phone was never recovered, right? So what is it that you say you do here? Massachusetts State Police. And I don't know what happened, but I did feel it too. In Larry Tipton's closing. He didn't have as much passion as in his opening. Did you notice that? And that whole decision not to put Brian Walshe on the stand at the end. I don't know what happened. I have thoughts on what happened, but I don't know what happened. He didn't buy any cement. Ann wants to know if Brian bought any cement. No, but he did buy these big, huge, I don't know how many gallon orange buckets at Home Depot that were watertight and had lids on them. And while we saw some blue buckets in the basement, I didn't see any orange buckets in any of the photographs they took, because they actually did go in his house and they actually did take photos. And in fact, the first time they went in his house was on January 4th. And he said, look around, go ahead, look around. And they did. They looked in his car. They found the Lowe's receipt in his car. They found a different cell phone in his car. They were 5-gallon buckets. Thank you. I don't have any information that they ever tested the blue buckets. No. Kim's not in court today. Is anybody in court today that's in the chat? I want to know if the jurors are dressed up today, because many people think that when the jurors come in and they're all dressed up, it's that they're going to have a verdict that day because they want to be fancy for the media. "25 years on the job says those buckets have to be weighed down if put in water or they will float." Well, you could put rocks in them, right? In addition to maybe body parts. I don't know. Yeah, Kim's not in court today. She had to. Oh, Emily said she's going to be in court. She didn't text me this morning, so I will reach out to her and find out. TJL says, what is Brian Walsh's motive if he didn't know about the affair? Well, they tried to say that it was financial. One of their arguments was that it was financial because she had life insurance and he was going to have to pay $475,000 in restitution. And then Larry Tipton tried to counter that by saying, but they had other, things. They had whole life insurance policies they could have borrowed on for the kids. They had other investments. They had just sold a property. And remember, Jem testified about that as well. Could he have snapped? That's what happened in the Harry Turk case, except Harry Turk confessed. And the jury found him guilty of the lowest manslaughter charge. And that too was in the same exact courthouse. Dr. Harry Turk, the robotic urological surgeon, was represented by Kevin Reddington, who did an amazing job defending him. I don't know. I'll find out if Emily is there. Let me see. Hold please. Hold please. It was Emily turned 40 yesterday. It was her birthday. I'm not doxing her because she told everyone it was her birthday. I can't even believe she's 40. I thought she was in her 20s when I met her. Just such a young soul. And my lips real? Yeah, my lips are real. Thank you very much. My lips are real. I would never get injections in my lips. Do you know how painful that is? So painful. Wonder Skin lip tint. It lasts all day. It's purple when it goes on. It's pretty freaky looking. Oh, she's not there today. Emily's not there today. Everyone's asking for you, Em. We wanted to know how the jury was dressed, because if they were, if they're fancy, usually it means they're going to have a verdict today because they want to talk to the media. So we'll see. A lot of people think the mother was involved. Did they ever take a statement from Diana Walsh? I mean, if you guys weren't here on Friday, we watched Yuri Buchanan's testimony from the evidentiary hearing, and Yuri interviewed the 6-year-old son, and the 6-year-old son drew him a picture. First of all, I want to know what the picture was. The 6-year-old son had an entire story about mom coming down. She was sleeping on the couch, and he described her pajamas. They were pink with red hearts. He said that his iPad was on the counter, that it was broken. He asked her to fix it. She went upstairs, came down, dressed in her regular clothes with her 2-foot-long duffel bag, got out, and got into a taxi. He also, at one point, came back and motioned Yuri Buchanan over to the basement door, which he opened, and Yuri just said, "Oh, don't go down there." No curiosity to go in the basement. right? I mean, absolutely insane. I don't know if they're going to investigate his mother now because I don't know if they ever investigated his mother to begin with. Right? What evidence are they going to have now? Unless they get some sort of a download of her phone or something. I mean, it took a while for them to go after Donna Adelson, but I don't know. I don't know. And I don't want to spread that, that rumor because there's crazy people out there on the internet and they will go after her. And I'm not going to, state that as fact. So if you do state that as fact, I'm just going to delete it. You can state your opinion, but if you state it as fact, I can't have it. It's defamation. People are going nuts out there. Did the 6-year-old draw Warhol? And Mitchell wants to know. That's a great question. Here's the Boston Globe did an interesting article last week, and the jury did not hear about this, but this gives us some interesting perspective into Brian Walshe because many of you who live in the area, I know we have a lot of Cohasset moms and dads in the chat, know about what happened with Brian Walshe's father's estate. And so let's refresh our recollection because all of the information that we have, nothing pointed to Brian Walshe being a violent guy, right? I don't remember any evidence of him being a violent guy, but this Boston Globe article spoke to someone or looked at the probate documents, and something in the probate documents indicates that Brian was perhaps a violent guy. So let's take a look at this Boston Globe article that was just updated last Friday. And it says, before the murder case, Brian Walshe was accused of draining his father's bank accounts, making off with more than $500,000. Sworn statement in probate court alleges Walshe was a physically violent person. See, this is something that the jury never heard about. By the end of 2018, accused murderer Brian Walshe's life was beginning to unravel. His father had died that September. In October, federal prosecutors accused him of foisting a pair of sham Andy Warhol paintings on an unsuspecting art dealer, charges that could land him in prison. But amid all that tumult, Walshe managed in December to convince the Plymouth County Probate Court to name him personal representative for his late father's estate, despite the fact that his father had expressly disinherited him. So his father, doesn't say when this was first written, wrote him out of his will. Thomas Walshe, a prominent neurologist, that was his dad, had been estranged from his son for years when he died unexpectedly while traveling in India that year. Well, we learned in another article that we read that Brian Walshe's dad left the family in 1980. I forget the year, but it was in the 1980s. Brian Walshe would have been about, I think it was 1983. He was 8 years old. His father came out and moved in with his partner and left the family. His parents never divorced. And so they remained separated until his death. But I can't imagine the effect that might have had on young 8-year-old Brian Walshe in the 80s. Yeah, it says neurologist, but I think he was a neurosurgeon too. But, Boston Globe. According to a copy of his will that was later accepted by the court, Thomas Walshe acknowledged that he had only one child, Brian Reza Walshe, with whom I am not in contact. If I do not herewith bequeath property in this will to Brian Reza Walshe, my failure to do so is intentional. The father wrote, I hereby bequeath to Brian R. Walshe my best wishes, but nothing else from my estate. So he was an only child and deliberately left out of the will. Back in December 2018, however, Brian Walshe had argued that his father left no will, convincing the court to appoint him personal representative to the estate. With that authority, he began liquidating his father's assets. According to documents filed in the probate case, however, the older man's friends and nephew later stepped in, accusing Walshe of secretly destroying his father's will for his own personal gain. They argued he drained his father's bank accounts and sold off belongings estimated to total more than $500,000, while also seeking to sell his father's home in Hull. Brian and Tom's, and this is a quote, Brian and Tom's estrangement had everything to do with money, the elder Walshe's longtime friend, Fred Pescatore, told the court in a signed statement. Brian stole money from Tom and swindled him out of almost $1 million during his life. When they say longtime friend, I'm not sure if this was his partner, Fred Pescatore. I just don't know. Hauntingly, Pescatore went on to allege that Brian Walshe had a violent streak, describing him as very angry and a sociopath. The case, which played out alongside Walsh's criminal art fraud trial, was one of several legal and financial entanglements Walshe faced in the years before he was accused of killing his wife, Anna, on January 1st of 2023. Walshe, 50, is now on trial in Norfolk Superior Court for Anna Walsh's murder, where prosecutors allege he cut up her body and dumped her remains. Walshe has denied the murder charge, though he's admitted moving the body and lying about it to police. Walsh's attorney in the probate case, Anthony Porcello, did not respond to a request for comment. By the time Walsh's father died in September 2018, the father and son had almost zero contact for more than a decade, according to accounts filed in the probate case. Nevertheless, as news of his father's death began to circulate, Walshe allegedly contacted Jeffrey Ornstein, his father's longtime friend, who helped renovate the older man's home or house in Hull. Brian texted me and asked if I had keys or access to the Hull house, as he needed some paperwork, Ornstein said in a signed statement submitted to the court. Ornstein added that when he entered the house to find the documents and to get Walsh's set of keys, he noticed Thomas Walsh's will on a cabinet in the office. Okay, so this guy Ornstein is the one who went there to get the documents for Brian. Brian didn't go there himself. Why was he poking around? I don't know. I reviewed the will and left it where we found it. However, I took some pictures, Ornstein told the court. I noticed a list of beneficiaries, but as Tom has told me many times over the years, he had expressly disinherited Brian. In addition to disinheriting his son, Ornstein continued, Thomas Walsh's will named his nephew, Andrew Walshe, as executor. I still felt bad, Ornstein continued, so when I texted Brian later that day to tell him that I had left him a set of keys under the mat, I did not tell him about being disinherited. According to court documents, the rift between father and son stemmed from an alleged theft of nearly $1 million. The dispute arose after Brian Walshe acquired a tumble-down home in Lenox in the early 2000s, according to previous Globe reporting. His father allegedly agreed to fund renovations with the idea that his son would pay him back the original amount and keep any profits once the home sold. But instead of paying his father back, Walshe pocketed the money and disappeared, according to a longtime friend of the father. Okay, so that was in the early 2000s. Tom said he talked to Brian that day. He was going to the bank, said the friend, who requested anonymity. That was the last time Tom heard from Brian in 10 years. Nevertheless, Walshe got himself named personal representative for his father's estate in December 2018. According to court documents, Walshe did not inform any of his father's other relatives of the death. So none of the relatives knew that Thomas Walshe died? Because the only way they would have found out was from Brian? Meanwhile, the elder Walsh's nephew, Andrew Walsh, told the probate court he had become increasingly anxious that winter when his uncle didn't reply to numerous messages. Andrew Walsh did not respond to Globe interview requests. He told the court, however, that he eventually contacted his uncle's friends who told him that Thomas Walsh had died. By then, Pescatore was preparing to seek a restraining order to block Brian Walsh's bid to sell his father's house in Hull. He told Andrew Walsh that although his uncle had left a will naming him executor, Brian Walsh had control of the estate. What's more, his cousin had already removed valuables from the house in Hull. I mean, why not contact his attorney for a copy of the will? I don't know. A lot about this seems odd. Andrew Walsh, who said he'd agreed to serve as executor roughly 10 years earlier. Right. So there could have been a codicil. There could have been a new will. Andrew Walsh, who said he'd agreed to serve as executor roughly 10 years earlier, asked the court in July 2019 to remove his cousin and appoint him as personal representative for his uncle's estate. It is clear that Brian destroyed the last will and testament, which excluded him from any inheritance when he gained access to the Hull property, Andrew Walsh wrote in a signed statement. Separately, he added that Brian Walsh hadn't contacted family members, many named as beneficiaries, about his uncle's death. Right, it's so bizarre they acted like there was only one copy of the will, yeah. Brian R. Walsh had estranged himself from all Walsh family members due to their knowledge of the theft he had committed to his father, Andrew Walsh told the court. Had any members of the Walsh family been informed, questions would have been raised much earlier regarding the estate. To support his claim, the nephew submitted photos Ornstein had taken of the will, as well as signed statements from two of his uncle's friends who'd acted as witnesses to the will dated May 1, 2016. Brian Walsh sought to fight off his cousin's claim. He told the court he and his father had reconciled in March 2017, adding they were planning for the elder Walsh to move in with him and Anna as the older man's needs changed. It was the first time we had spoken candidly since a family therapy session in 1996, Walsh wrote in a signed statement to the court. He suggested their schisms stemmed from his father's alternative lifestyle, in quotes, following the divorce, adding that after his father suffered a stroke in early 2016, it would have been medically impossible for him to write a will by himself, much less sign it. The signature is a possible forgery, he suggested. Thomas Walsh's longtime friend, Fred Pescatore, declined a Globe interview request. In court, however, he characterized Brian Walsh's version of events as a pack of lies. Their estrangement had nothing to do with Tom's alternative lifestyle, but rather all to do with Brian being a sociopath, Pescatore wrote. He went on to describe a trip to Asia he'd taken years earlier with the father and son. I saw Brian attempt to smuggle out antiquities from China, said Pescatore, characterizing the younger Walsh as a very angry and physically violent person. When Brian was confronted, he picked up a stanchion and literally attempted to kill 4 or 5 guards that had come to talk to him about his crime. Okay, well. Seems like this guy Pescatore was there when it happened. I can see why this wouldn't be allowed in. It would be more prejudicial than probative. I don't know if Fred Pescatore is, I guess they tried to reach out to him for this article, but this article was originally written a couple years ago. Hold on. But also Fred Pescatore's, characterization of Brian Walsh as a sociopath does not come in here. However, I'm surprised also that you remember they sent Brian Walsh for a competency evaluation to Bridgewater State right before jury selection. He was there for 40 days. And so if that doctor who evaluated him reached any kind of diagnosis about him being a sociopath or had NPD, because we had heard that he may have been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder years before, Don't you think maybe they would have called the psychiatrist from Bridgewater State to testify? I mean, the psychiatrist found him competent, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have other issues. I don't know. And if he attempted to kill 4 or 5 guards in China, don't you think he probably would have been arrested? Did anybody ever see that movie? Okay, just to digress for a second. I think it was called Broke Down Palace, and it was about 2 girls who were arrested in Thailand because some guy put drugs in their suitcase, and they spent time in Thailand. It was horrifying. It has haunted me to this day. I tell my children and myself, don't ever pack anything in your luggage going into a foreign country that could in any way be in any way illegal in a foreign country, because that movie scared the hell out of me. Yeah, wasn't that Claire Danes? Yes. He absolutely would have been arrested. That movie is trauma. We all carry that trauma. If you've ever seen it, it's traumatic. Make him Broke Down Palace, which coincidentally is the name of a Grateful Dead song. The court ultimately accepted Ornstein's photos of the will and sided with Andrew Walshe, claiming him personal representative for the estate. Or I'm sorry, naming him personal representative for the estate. The nephew then spent months trying to compel Brian Walshe to provide a full accounting of how he'd administered the estate. Andrew Walshe alleged his cousin had drained the elder Walsh's bank accounts of at least $250K and sold his possessions, which he pegged at another $250,000. But after months of failed attempts to get his cousin to account for the estate, Andrew Walshe abandoned the effort in fall of 2023. Okay, so he just dropped it. It was clear, he said, that Brian Walshe will not render an account. Okay, so nothing ever happened to him for that. You know, it sounds to me like Brian Walshe is a kid who never had any ramifications for his behavior. But also, I had my doubts about those HIV searches about the knife. I thought maybe that was like a search that had been just like automatically populated or something. But does it make a little bit more sense if his father in the 80s, you're right, when AIDS was first becoming a thing? I don't know. In other local news, Karen Reed is becoming a Lifetime movie. That's something I didn't know about. Did you? Check this out. Lifetime, this is in Deadline a couple days ago. Lifetime is putting out its slate for the winter. Lifetime sets January movie slate. Karen Reed case explored. Mary Jo Buttafuoco tells her story, and Kate Beckinsale-led Stolen Girl. First of all, the Buttafuoco case, still to this day, intrigues me. Katie Cassidy has been tapped to play Karen Reed. Here it is. Here's a shot from the film. It's going to be a Lifetime movie. I've heard about other movies coming out, the Elizabeth Banks thing, but didn't hear about Katie Cassidy playing Karen Reed in a Lifetime movie. Just a little blurb about it. Here it is. Here's a better picture. I guess that's supposed to be Alan Jackson and David Yannetti. I can't find it on IMDb Pro, so it's not even in IMDb yet. You think she looks like Karen? A little bit. And it's going to be called Accused, the Karen Reed Story. And it's going to premiere on January 10th at 8 p.m. Eastern. When Boston police officer John O'Keefe, Luke Humphrey, is found dead in a snowbank outside a friend's home, his girlfriend Karen Reed, played by Katie Cassidy, is charged in connection with his death. What begins as a shocking tragedy quickly ignites a firestorm that captures national attention. Based on a true story, Accused, the Karen Reed Story, is an unrelenting pursuit of justice to clear Karen's name as the trials fracture the tight-knit Massachusetts town of Canton. Karen's story is one of resilience, integrity, and the growing movement of supporters rallying behind her. So that's interesting. Reed's case is the most recent of the three being dramatized in January's list of films from Lifetime. In April, Reed was found not guilty of second-degree murder in the death of her boyfriend, manslaughter, and leaving the scene of the accident. This was her second trial following a first that ended in a hung jury. For driving under the influence, she received 1 year probation. To date, no one else has been charged in O'Keefe's 2022 death. With no official trial date set, the O'Keefe family will have their day in court in connection with the wrongful death suit they filed against Reed. Additionally, Reed filed her own lawsuit against the Massachusetts State Police and multiple other individuals last month for civil rights violations, gross misconduct, and conspiring to frame her for O'Keefe's death, among other allegations. A trial date is also TBD. Accused, the Karen Reed story is produced by A New England Road and Front Street Pictures for Lifetime. Alan White, Rama Diallo, Helen Verno, and Judith Verno serve as executive producers. Gregory Small and Richard Blaney wrote the script, and it is directed by Linda Lisa Hayter, Hayter. So put it in your calendars, folks. January 10th, 8 p.m. Lifetime movie on Karen Reed. I don't think Karen had anything to do with this. I don't know if she had to deal with them, but it is something that we've never heard Alan speak about in all of the times that he's been on anyone's show. So that's interesting. I don't believe Karen gets paid for this, but I do not know. I don't have actual knowledge. So there's that. Thank you, Sally, for your 20. Thank you. I appreciate you watching. Sally Taka. Thank you. Glorified Ship Rider. Thanks for becoming a member. And Just Joe King says, how are the jurors dressed? We don't know. We don't know yet. If anybody in the chat is in the courtroom, let us know. 302 Girl says, I'm bothered by the Tyvek suits. Lowe's medium is for a 5'2" to 5'7", 130 to 160 pound person. And the large, extra large is for 5'7" to 6'2", 150 to 220 pound suit. I mean, 220 pounds is the sizing. And I'm stuck if mom helped and that suit was for her or Anna. So many questions. And if you guys are stuck on that stuff, is the jury going to be stuck on that stuff too? Thanks, 302 Girl. Oh, Allie Hoffer. Allie Hoffer, that's a great question. Says, I need a Karen's court closet. I'd love a list of her outfits and affordable dupes. She, most of the time, wore Veronica Beard. And I could tell you that just because I know the style of Veronica Beard. And most of her clothing was rented from Rent the Runway. So check it out. I use a different clothing subscription. I also rent a lot of clothes. What is going on here? I need my roots done. This is a whole shonda. The clothing subscription that I use is Newly. There's a discount code also in the show notes for you. I wear a lot of the stuff that I wear is like a lot of Anthropology, Free People, Maeve. It's very boho because I don't need to go to court every day. Rent the Runway is more formal clothing, I would say. High-end designer brands. So if you want a Newly discount code, it's in the show notes below. It's great if you're going on vacation because you get six pieces a month. And then you just mail them back, postage paid, in a big like suitcase type thing that they give you. And I just rented like 4 coats. And it's great because for winter coats, it's like you wear them a couple times and you mail them back. It's fantastic. Some months I can't even wear all of the stuff that I rent. And most of the stuff that I get is new with tags. So it's a great way to, save the environment, wear clothes, and send them back. It's the greatest. When you're going on like a tropical vacation, you can rent like 6 dresses and you don't have to dry clean them or anything. You just mail them back when you're done. It's fantastic. I think my code gets you $10 off your first month. And coats are great. dress coats. Oh my God, I got the coolest like Daisy Jones like coat with like faux fur and fur cuffs, and it's amazing. Embroidery, suede, it's gorgeous. I love it. And then you can buy the stuff if you want at a discount. I'm here to help. I'm here to help. Mom Claire says, I know you're a college football fan, but as someone who grew up in Colorado, it was a great weekend for Denver. Go Broncos. Well, you know, I have a kid at CU, so she likes the Broncos now too. We didn't have a great year. The Buffs did not have a great year, even though we're gonna pray for next season. I'm gonna put some Buffs emojis in the chat. I know. I love to just like share secrets. I like to share secrets. Like if I get a deal on something, I'm gonna tell people. So that you can get the deal too, right? Isn't that what it's about? Sharing secrets. You, lady in the back to Brian Walshe, says, the biggest sticking point for me is not enough blood for what the Commonwealth is claiming. The more you try to clean it up, the more it smears. There was no black light found to see biologicals. But back to football, I can't believe the Patriots blew it. Sorry, guys. But they did. They blew it. Colorado here too. Go Broncos. Thanks, Colorado friends. I've been planning this for a long time and I haven't done it yet, but I need to do a show on Megan Trussell, who was found, I think she was found near the Flatirons. And the reason that I didn't cover it initially when it happened was because my daughter was a freshman at CU at the time, and I was so spun by this story of Megan Trussell that I just emotionally couldn't cover it because I had literally like just dropped her off for freshman year, and Megan Trussell went missing, and everyone was so worried about it and trying to find her. And I still think there's some shenanigans going on there because even her mom is like, she never would have taken her own life. So we need to talk about Megan Trussell and we need to find out what happened to her. So that's on the list. Steph says, I can. Steph, here come Denver. Go Broncos, and Free Peeps is my jam. Listen, when I was in Boulder, and I loved Boulder so much that I stayed there for law school. I went to University of Denver Law, and I lived in Boulder, and I would commute to Denver to go to law school every day because I loved it there so much I didn't want to leave. That was also when the Broncos were really in their heyday. It was the John Elway days. And I remember Denver fans back then being they were painting their houses orange and blue back in the day. Broncos fans are dedicated. Right? We're talking about making shopping lists. Full of Question says, my husband makes a shopping list. If going shopping, he was raised to do so. I did not see that they may reopen Jesse Butler's case and charge him as an adult. I did not see that. I mean, I saw they've been talking about it for a while. Has there been anything more recent where they said they're absolutely going to do that? Is it because of public uproar? I mean, I don't want to spread some information that's not true, but I mean, I kept hearing that it is something that they might do, but I did not get any confirmation on it. I don't know anything about Mark Betterow, and I'm not going to address that because I have no information about that. and I deal in facts, not rumors or speculation here. So let's not go there today because I honestly don't know until until I hear any confirmation from my friend Mark. I'm not going to be spreading any other rumors like that. Victim's mother filed something in court. Yeah, that was a long time ago. You mean for his federal? Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Kyle. These are for Brian's federal case, he had to get letters of like recommendation, kind of like letters of reference with regard to sentencing, the sentencing memorandum. And so there is a letter here that I have because Kyle was kind enough to send me 13 letters. There's a letter that Diana Walsh wrote to the court. Do you want me to read that to you? It's about 6 pages long. Tell me if you want to hear about that. And I also just read, because it just popped up on my feed. Let me just find it first because I don't want to misreport it. Hold, please. Sometimes the New York Post will send me, they'll send me an alert, and then I click on the article and it's exactly what the alert did not say. But I think I can confirm right now, as of 10 minutes ago, Rob Reiner's son, Nick, is in custody following the murder of Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle, who were found dead yesterday in their Brentwood home. So let's just pivot for a moment while we talk about Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle. This is devastating. He's not been arrested, but he's in the custody of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. His name is Nick Reiner. He's 32 years old. Who said the verdict is in? Who said that? I've got the clock up. I don't see anything about that. Who said? I mean, Rob Reiner was the film anthology of my childhood. Stand By Me, Sleepless in Seattle. Clock is off by 5 minutes. Mitchell's our official timekeeper, I guess. You're right, but we're on real time. At Long Crime, we're on real time, but the clock is a couple minutes slow because it is 10:17 and this clock says like 10:14. Oh, I'm sorry. When Harry Met Sally. Okay, do over. Princess Bride. I get those two movies confused, When Harry Met Sally and Sleepless in Seattle. Does anybody else do that? Marnie said Jem was in the courtroom holding hands with other women, had his arm around them. Well, here's what I heard, Marnie. Jem was in the courtroom with like 4 or 5 women who every single one of them had their hands on him at all times. And they were all stunningly beautiful women. And they were outside the courthouse making TikTok videos or Instagram videos or something. In fact, people who were in the courtroom told me that it looked cult-like, that it was very, 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 very bizarre. And they were a little bit creeped out by it. A lot creeped out by it. It was like we were calling them Jem's angels. But if you look at his Instagram and his real estate team, it's like he only hires stunning women. It's like Selling Sunset. Yeah, it sounds like a harem. I don't know. It's just weird. It gave me kind of a weird vibe when he was on the stand too. I really couldn't put my finger on it. But the fact that he was asked, didn't Anna say she had a crush on you too? And he like tried to deny it, but it was in his statement. I don't know. So no, there's no verdict yet, but we're here. We're waiting. So yesterday when the news broke regarding Rob Reiner, I guess we're going to have to switch screens a little bit. Initially, it was reported that 2 people were found dead in the Brentwood home of Rob Reiner and his wife. And initially, it was only reported that I think it was around 3:30 p.m. Pacific that a 78-year-old man and a 68-year-old woman had been found dead inside the home, and they weren't reporting who it was. And it wasn't until pretty late last night, maybe 10 p.m. Eastern, that they actually did report that indeed it was Rob Reiner and his wife who were found dead, and that they were found by a family member. And so it turns out that it was their daughter, Romy, who found them. And it turns out that their throats were slit, which is horrific. And it turns out now that their son, Rob, who's 32 years old, is in custody. He's not been arrested, but he's being questioned by LAPD. Oh, thank you very much, Glorified Shipwriter. As soon as I can address all of the super chats, I will. Says she sent the Karen Reed coloring book and dedicated a page to me and the Snark Tank. I sent you an email to you as a coloring book page. That's awesome. Thank you for your super chat and your Venmos. And I don't want to break right now because I'm in a train of thought, but thank you. I grew up with All in the Family too. So All in the Family was a TV show that ran from 1971 to 1979, and Rob Reiner played Sally Struthers' husband, Meathead. Oh, it's his son, Nick. I'm sorry, his son, Nick. See, I get too distracted by the chat. I'm going to have to do a separate show on this so that I can stop getting distracted. All in the Family ran from 1971 to 1979, and Rob Reiner played Meathead in 185 episodes. And when I tell you that, I don't remember what night it was on, but I think it was on Sunday nights. You can correct me, guys, if I'm wrong. Yeah, his son, Nick. Yes, his son, Nick. I know I got it right the first time, but then I was looking at a picture and then it confused me. Thank you for the corrections. Was it on Sunday nights? Because I remember the little 13-inch Sony Trinitron TV being pulled up to the dinner table and watching All in the Family. It was on Sundays, right? I was right. 1971 to 1979. And let me tell you what, the bigotry that went on during All in the Family is something that never would be allowed on TV today. Am I right? We watched it as a family too. People are saying it was Saturday night. Other people are saying it's Sunday night. I don't know. In any event, I do remember watching it as a family. Maybe it was on Saturday nights, maybe Sunday nights. Sunday nights was definitely 60 Minutes. I do remember that. Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle have three children: Romy, Nick. Is Rob his son also? Does he have a son named Rob? Because now I'm being confused. Let's turn to the latest on it anyway. The latest is that their son, Nick, is in custody. He wrote a movie about his son, or I think maybe even his son wrote the screenplay. It was called something about Charlie. It's a very sad story of, I mean, addiction, homelessness. Nick has had a very rough life from what I read. Nick, Jake, and Romy, those are the children. So horrific. Yeah, is YouTube being glitchy? Here's the latest. Come on. Okay, now my browser is having problems and it's not going to screen share for me. So I have to do a quick reset. So hold there. Hold there. I'll be right back. I have to refresh my browser because it's one of those days. If you're buffering on YouTube, go out and come back in. But I have to now. It's StreamYard is having a problem, so I have to refresh. So give me 2 minutes. I'm looking at a lot of screens. I have a lot of screens here. All right, let's try this again. Rob Reiner's son, Nick, is in custody after horrifying murder of Princess Bride director and wife. Rob Reiner's troubled son, Nick, is in police custody following the murder of the famed director and wife, Michelle, at their Brentwood home. Law enforcement sources said Monday. This must have it just broke 10 minutes ago. Nick Reiner, 32, has not been arrested, but he's in the custody of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Sources said TMZ first reported the news. This is the New York Post that we're looking at. There's a lovely picture of Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle, who were both found yesterday, I think around 3:30 p.m. Pacific, with their throats slit, which is something I read in another article earlier. This is the picture of their son, Nick, who's in custody at his last known public event on September 9th of 2025. Post goes on to say he was detained Sunday night after police discovered the director of The Princess Bride and his longtime spouse hacked to death in their mansion, sources said. Couple's daughter, Romy, found Rob Reiner, 78, and Michelle Reiner, 68, with their throats slashed around 3:30 p.m. Sunday and told cops that she believed a family member should be a suspect, TMZ reported. Romy told cops she thought that the relative was dangerous, according to the report. Nick Reiner previously opened up about his battle with addiction and bouts of homelessness. I was homeless in Maine. I was homeless in New Jersey. I was homeless in Texas, Nick told People in a 2016 interview. Here's a picture of the family. And this was from September 9th of 2025. This was at the Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues premiere in Los Angeles at the Egyptian Theater on September 9th, 2025. Nick said he first went to rehab at age 15 and ended up doing at least 17 stints in treatment. He added, I spent nights on the street. I spent weeks on the street. It was not fun. To help cope with his troubled life and demons, Nick Reiner told the celebrity Glossy that he co-wrote the semi-autobiographical movie Being Charlie. His dad directed the 2015 film, and The Princess Bride star Carrie, how do you pronounce his last name? Elws. Carrie. He was in The Princess Bride, appeared in it. Addiction is so difficult. Tragic. So sad. Remember how we were talking about Charlie Sheen recently, because a lot of us watched the documentary, and then he was on Billy Bush's show. He did a live stream with Billy Bush. And I remember Martin Sheen being so vocal and upfront about Charlie's addiction struggles with the public as a way to, he said, like, try and save him. And it is inconceivable. The ripple effects of addiction are enormous. And until we know more, we won't know more. And again, the browser has lost connection. What is going on today with StreamYard? I don't know. But we're still on verdict watch. Here's the clock. This is continuing to be a problem. So StreamYard, when you give me my little thumbs up, thumbs down after the stream is over, you're getting a thumbs down from me today. Elwes, Carrie Elwes. I have to refresh again. Excuse me for one moment. Talk amongst yourselves. Whoever said that StreamYard went downhill after it was sold, I agree with you 100%. 100%. And they're giving us all of these like new cool options, which are really nothing that we needed. How about give me the ability to put 2 documents up at once? How about that? That'd be great. That'd be great. Elways, I don't know. Elway. Everyone's got a different pronunciation for it, so I guess I'm not alone. I guess I'm not alone in not knowing how to pronounce his name. Well, he's in custody. Did it say that he was just arrested, or is that he's in custody? Was he just arrested? And if he was arrested, where did you see that? Listen to learn. Yeah, it said their throats were cut. Horrific. And yesterday was the first day of Hanukkah. Was that why the family was together? I don't know. Yeah, the problem is there's no good alternative to StreamYard. There's no alternative unless you know how to use OBS, which I do not know how to do. I'm not a technical person. Court TV is reporting that Nick Reiner has been arrested and held on $4 million bond. Okay, let's see. Hold on one second. So many things happening. News breaks pretty quickly. I mean, that is not the first thing I thought of when I heard the news. The first thing I thought of was a robbery. I mean, they could do better reporting, because here's what it says. It says, Rob Reiner's son, Nick, arrested in connection with deaths of his parents, held on $4 million bail. Nick Reiner has been taken into custody following the deaths of his parents, Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer Reiner. Rob and Michelle were killed in their Los Angeles home on Sunday, December 14th. Sources previously told People they were found by their daughter, Romy. According to Los Angeles Sheriff's Department records, Nick was taken into custody and is being held on $4 million bail. People previously reported that Nick was being questioned by the LAPD, LAPD's robbery homicide division, in the aftermath of his parents' deaths. The Los Angeles Fire Department said it was called to a home to provide medical aid at around 3:30 p.m. Sunday. Sources subsequently identified the victims as Rob and Michelle. The couple had been married since 1989. They met while Rob was directing When Harry Met Sally, which was released that same year. Together, they had 3 children, including Nick, who previously has spoken openly about struggles with addiction beginning in his teens. Rob was the director of a number of iconic films, including This Is Spinal Tap, 1984, Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, 1987, and A Few Good Men, 1992, among others. And boy, did I love A Few Good Men. I will watch that every single time it's on. And Stand By Me. I think that was 1983. People doesn't say what year, but I think that's when it was. The son of legendary comedian Carl Reiner, Rob broke into Hollywood on the legendary sitcom All in the Family, which we were just talking about. It is with profound sorrow that we announce the tragic passing of Michelle and Rob Reiner, the Reiner family said in a statement to Variety. We are heartbroken by this sudden loss, and we ask for privacy during this unbelievably difficult time. That is exactly what we were just talking about. Blue-eyed girl. That is exactly what we were reporting. He was also married to Penny Marshall, yep, who played Laverne in Laverne and Shirley. And he had upcoming projects too. He also directed a movie called Rumor Has It, which was another good movie with Kevin Costner and Jennifer Aniston. Does anybody remember that? That was a movie from 2014. Yeah, about Mrs. Robinson. Exactly. Somebody else said that he adopted Penny Marshall's daughter. Yeah. Or that they adopted daughters together. Friend of Dog gifted 10 memberships. Thank you so much. That is so very kind and generous of you. You're awesome. You're awesome. To the 10 new members who were randomly picked by YouTube to receive gifted memberships, welcome. Check out the special emojis that are down in the chat box next to that little, just got to click on the little smiley face there. Thank you so much. And if you were gifted, thank Friend of Dog. He's always gifting all the time. Melissa says, just sent you Brian Walsh's video timeline. Also, the mom had to be in the house on New Year's Eve. No elective surgery on January 1st. Only way is if she drove herself to Brian's in the AM, but she wasn't supposed to drive. I don't know what day her surgery was supposed to happen. I thought it was a couple of days prior and that she was going to stay with them and recuperate at the house. And then maybe that was the day he was going to bring her home. But again, that's another hole in the testimony, because that is something that the prosecution never entered into evidence. They just left it out there hanging. It was another dot that was not connected to anything. I mean, they let the probation officer, the federal probation officer, talk about it, but they never brought in any evidence about the surgery. And the defense didn't put on a case, so they didn't bring in any evidence of the surgery or when the surgery was supposed to be, or whether she even had the surgery. Thanks for your super chat, Melissa. And I'll take a look for your timeline. Good morning. One moment. I have 7,000 emails here. When did you send it today? Oh, please. Because I don't have it. Fanbase at mlittlelaw.com. I don't see it here. I just don't see it here. Can you send it to me again? Because I just don't see it. What does the header say? There's a lot of alternatives for StreamYard. I haven't found one that's easy to use. People are saying that because of about the $2 million in insurance, but I went back and I looked at my notes from the opening, and their opening said that there was $1 million in life insurance on Anna. So I don't know where that $2 million number came from. And I also have questions too, because originally we thought that the Google searches came from the child's iPad, but then it turned out that it was only because Brian Walshe's Apple ID was signed into that child's iPad, and that's the reason it came up that way. And really, Brian allegedly did them from his MacBook. I mean, he did have a lot of freedom for somebody who was on house arrest. He sure did. I mean, this article broke at is on Rob Reiner and his wife, and it broke 9:47 a.m. So maybe not even an hour ago. And it says Rob Reiner, wife Michelle, had throats slit by family member during heated argument. And they were found by their daughter, Romy, who immediately told cops the killer was another family member. The horrified daughter quickly told investigators that a relative should be a suspect because they're dangerous. Sources told the outlet, suggesting it came during a heated argument. And says they were both found with their throats slit. TMZ is reporting, and TMZ used to be not very reliable, but lately they've been getting all the scoops that turn out to be true. Sources told the Post that stab wounds to their throats were among multiple wounds throughout their bodies. What a horrific, horrific crime. There was a press conference last night. I want to see if I can find it, but maybe there'll be something more current or more recent. It's tragic. Oh. Gina, I mean, thanks for sending this to me. I don't click on links that people send me. If you can send it to me in PDF form or something else, I'll look at it. But clicking on links that people send you that you don't know where they came from is a great way to get hacked. If you guys have been out there over the weekend on the cesspool at Twitter, because so many of you have sent it to me, I don't click on links. So if there's a way that you can send it to me or you can send it directly to me, that's great. I'll take a look at it. Like in PDF form or something. Something that we should look at, I think. Let's take a look at the letter that Diana Walshe wrote to the federal court for Brian's sentencing. Samantha wants to know if law enforcement found or looked for the pajamas with the hearts. Remember the son said that she was wearing pink pajamas with red hearts? I don't know. I don't know if they looked for them. Let's take a look at the letter that Diana Walshe wrote to the federal court because it's interesting. It gives us insight into Diana Walsh's life and into her relationship with Brian and the children and her relationship with Anna. For those of you who haven't seen it, give me a moment. I don't know why this won't download. Hang tight. A lot of technical difficulties today. Okay, so this letter was written by Diana Walshe, August 26th of 2021. So a little more than 4 years ago. And before a federal sentencing, you're allowed to submit letters from people who know you that can talk about your characters and your character and stuff. Stuff and things and stuff. So let's take a look at this letter. Anything happens, hopefully we'll hear about it. Because the internet is not my friend today. This is a letter that was written on August 26th of 2021 from Diana Walshe to the federal court judge in Massachusetts regarding the United States of America versus Brian Walshe. Dear Judge Woodlock, I am eternally grateful for your consideration to read my letter begging and pleading for your mercy and compassion for my son, Brian Reza Walshe. Your mercy and compassion will have impacts beyond measure, not only for Brian's life, but my life and the lives of his 3 sons. And then she names the sons. And at the time, they were 5 years, 2 months, 23 months, and 9 months. My mother, may she rest in peace, advised me that words spoken from my heart would take a direct path to reach the heart of the intended. Heeding her advice, I write to you from my heart and hope it also compensates for my lack of mastery in English, since most of my formal education in the USA were in science and engineering. Well, she sounds like a pretty smart woman. I don't know what her first language is. Brian showed poor judgment and has accepted responsibility for his behavior. I know that you have to sentence him in this system, but I ask that you not sentence him to jail. A sentence to jail that you might impose on Brian will have serious impact on me. Well, she would be very affected if he went to jail. I need my red pen. My red pen needs to come out. Was she so desperate that she did not want Brian to go to jail? And then this is italicized. My son is the only all caps reason I get up in the morning. He is the only person to take care of me, and he is always there for me. And this is 4 years ago. I am a very private person leading a hermit-like existence for the past few years. My only living relative with whom I have a relationship, a brother, will be 79 years old this September. I have not seen my brother in 4.5 years as he is in poor health and lives in North Carolina. I do not have any friends. I do not socialize with anyone. My son and his boys have been the only ones to visit me for the past 4.5 years. They are the only ones that I interact with. Unfortunately, I do not have a good relationship with my daughter-in-law. There it is. Perhaps due to cultural differences. I mean, my research says that Diana Walshe is Persian and Anna Walshe is Serbian. And so I don't know what cultural differences she's referring to. Therefore, my son is the one and only constant in my life, taking care of me and ensuring I have some joy by seeing my grandchildren. Your Honor, I have had 3 lung cancer surgeries. Well, that's terrible. 2009, 2011, and 2019. The last one in October 2019 was quite extensive as I kept pushing out the surgery date to ensure I could be present in court to support Brian if needed. I did not tell my son I needed the surgery, nor that I kept rescheduling it, because I knew he would have made sure I give the highest level of priority where my health was concerned. My surgeon was concerned that precancerous nodules on my lungs keep growing and becoming cancerous. Given my history, I needed CAT scans every 6 months, and my son is the only one who takes me to my appointments. When I went to an appointment with my doctor on August 6th of 2021, I was concerned that I could not walk a few steps up the stairs. I found out the main reason. I have 55% of my lungs left at the moment. I am being closely monitored for status of remaining lung nodules in my lungs. I have not told my son that I have more nodules in my lungs or that I have only 55% of my lung capacity. I do not want him to worry, especially if he cannot be there to help me. My next appointment is scheduled for January 8th of 2022, and I don't know what I will do if my son is not with me. Moving on. And that is very tragic that she has lung cancer. And horrific. My son took me to all my appointments for X-ray, CAT scan, meetings with my surgeon and my primary physician. My son took great care of me during recovery periods in 2009, 11, and 19. The list is long, and following are only a handful of examples. In MGH, Massachusetts General Hospital, he would visit at least twice a day and bring cakes for the nurses on different shifts to make me happy. When I was home, every morning he brought me coffee from my favorite coffee shop. He would bring trays of prepared food to my bedroom and would look very sad when I could not eat due to pain and medication. I could not drive for months due to pain medication, and he ensured I did not need anything and I could see my grandchildren. He would tell me how much fun he had spending time with his mother. Cakes for the nurses to make her happy. I picked that out of Emily also. Wow, is she dependent on him? She makes him seem like such an amazing son, and yet the father wrote him out of his will because he was such a horrible son. Karma is a patient gangster, says I'm getting Norma and Norman Bates vibes. I wonder if he would brush her hair for her. Was Diana Walshe afraid that the children were going to move to Washington, D.C. and she wouldn't be able to go with them? refresh my recollection because I could be conflating cases, but did Alyssa say that the mother was going to move down there with them? Or did somebody say the mother was going to move down there to DC with them? But it's like me. In Christmas 2019, I wanted to stay home as I was still recovering from my surgery. Brian would not hear of it. He cooked for 3 days, family dishes he believed would make me happy, printed a menu which I have kept, and took me to his home. He did the same for the New Year that year. Somebody says the jury is in, but I have this up on my other screen and I don't see anything about that. But we will click over as soon as I see it come up on the screen. My son is always concerned about my well-being and needs. Examples are many. Following are a few that show his kind heart. During the snowstorm of 2020, he was at MGH with his wife for the arrival of his third son, named after him. He called from the hospital to let me know he was going to clear the snow from my car. Then he lived in Cohasset. I remember yelling at him and asking if he had lost his mind. Regardless, several hours later, he and his wife were in the hallway of my apartment following CDC guidelines with the newborn. My son wanted to make sure I saw my new grandson for a few minutes, even though it was a storm. Even small things matter when it comes to his mother. When he found out the batteries of my TV remote control were dead and I could not watch the cable news, he drove from Cohasset to deliver batteries so I would not have to leave my apartment. Somebody said, it was said in the trial that she would be moving, but somebody else said that it was the nanny that they asked. So maybe both. And also remember, Diana Walsh is paying their $5,000 a month rent. So, is he waiting on her hand and foot for an allowance because she's supporting them? This was written in 2021. He's always available to take me to my doctor's appointments, even when I keep rescheduling due to physical or mental issues. Right, because he doesn't have a job. He does not have a job. He does not work. You're supporting him. You're enabling him. You're an enabler, I feel like. Hold on. Oh, and it says right here, even when I keep rescheduling my doctor's appointments due to physical or mental issues. Does she have mental issues that we didn't hear about, that we don't know about? Mental issues? She says it. Those are her words. A little codependent. Yeah, codependent, a little enmeshment. Yep. On August 11, 2021, he insisted to take me to my eye doctor for cataract exams and measurements as I had not been for a long time. Brian had taken me several years ago to Dr. Richter twice for preventable procedures for glaucoma. Therefore, he was concerned. His concern was right, as the doctor has scheduled me for cataract surgeries for both eyes, and Brian is the only one who I have to take me. I have no one else. I mean, why is everyone alienated from her? How does she alienate every single person in her life? I have so many questions. Despite all this, my son always makes sure I do not feel like a burden. I feel like you're a burden, and I'm just reading your letter. My son brings his children so that I can see them for a few minutes in the parking lot following CDC guidelines. He makes it like an adventure for everyone and always tells me what a great time the kids had seeing their grandmother. He's always asking if I have food and water in the apartment. Do I need the garbage taken out? During storms, he gets in the car and drives to check on me, ensuring my safety. Okay. At the time she wrote this, she was living in Swampscott in that same apartment building. But wait a second. 2021, she's living at that 330 Paradise Road in Swampscott in 2021. August. And he say, well, we don't know because he didn't testify, but I remember in the pretrial, he got lost going to her house because she had just moved to somewhere new and he lost his phone. So he didn't have GPS and he didn't know how to use GPS in the Vovo. And so that's why it took him so long to get there. Do you remember that? But she had lived there for at least 4 months by then. But the guy doesn't know the guy has zero sense of direction. Above all, he puts up with my neurosis and idiosyncrasies while he ensures I know I am much loved by him and my grandchildren. Well, she's telling us everything. She's telling us everything. And actually, wait, what did I say? This was August of 2021. She went missing January 1st, 2023. She had already lived there for a year and a half. A little less than a year and a half. So if he was there all the time with the children, all the time, when Anna went missing January 1 of 2023, there's no way in hell that he got lost going to his mother's house, okay? I had my dates mixed up for a second. It was January 1, 2023 that Anna was killed. So she had lived there for well over a year. There it is. Above all, he puts up with my neurosis and idiosyncrasies while he ensures I know I am much loved by him and my grandchildren. His kindness, compassion, and love were extended to his grandparents, my parents as well. When I was pursuing postgraduate degree in chemical engineering, my youngest brother got killed in a car accident. Oh, now we're going to hear about all the tragedy of the mother. And, if anybody knows anything about generational trauma, listen to this. So Diana's younger brother was killed in a car accident when she was pursuing her postgraduate degree in chemical engineering. She says his car was, I think she means sideswiped. To prevent hitting a car full of children, he hit the pole and passed away on the scene. And then Diana Walshe says, my mother tried twice to commit suicide and succeeded the second time years later. Okay, so Brian Walshe's grandma took her own life. His uncle was killed in a car accident. His father left the family when he was 8 to move in with his lover. He came out in 1983. And then she goes on to say, Diana Walshe says that her mother, who took her life, told me that when she was alone with Brian, he would kiss her hand and ask her not to be sad. Brian was about 4.5 years old then. Oh, so he was about 4.5 years old when his grandmother took her own life. And he's the one consoling her. I think he's got a lot of trauma too. Not that that's an excuse for anything, but she says that kind of heart remains in him today. My father died of cancer. Okay, so both of her parents died. Very tragically. We would not leave him alone in the hospital day or night. Nurses at MGH told me they have never seen a 16-year-old spend so much time at his grandfather's bedside, day or throughout the night. So Brian Walshe, 16 years old, was spending time at his dying grandfather's bedside. Spent time with his dying grandmother when he was 4.5, and his father left the family when he was 8. And yeah, what a bizarre relationship they must have. To my father, Brian was a replacement for the son he had lost. To my son, my father was the loving male figure he needed, and Brian wanted to make sure his grandfather was never alone. He loves his wife very much and was concerned when his mother-in-law lost her husband of 47 years in Serbia. Okay. So his father-in-law also died. Or his mother-in-law's husband. I don't know if that was Anna's father, but the way it's written, it says he loves his wife very much and was concerned when his mother-in-law lost her husband of 47 years in Serbia. Well, it would be her father if they were married for 47 years and Anna was 39 at her passing, right? Anna's mother came for a visit in 2020 and 2021. Understandably, she was very depressed and also not in good health. Oh, so way to throw shade at Anna's mother. Brian made sure she felt welcomed, cooked and served all her meals, meeting her dietary requirements. She has said no one had ever cooked for her before, and she had the best son-in-law. Okay, so Anna's mother seemed to love Brian, if you believe Diana Walshe. We did not get a verdict. We're on verdict watch. We're doing other things while we're reading. Don't be confused. Don't be confused. It says right below, what is scrolling? I always put a banner scrolling below. What it says is that the jury's been deliberating since Friday at 12:22 ET. But rather than just watch the clock, we're going to talk about other things. This is a letter that Diana Walshe, Brian's mom, wrote to the federal court judge in August of 2021 to talk about Brian and say all the reasons why Brian should not go to jail for the federal crimes. Hold on. Where his children are concerned, he is the most amazing father. It has been said, quote, paradise lies under the feet of mothers, end quote. If there are fathers as completely devoted, loving, kind, and caring as my son, then paradise lies under the feet of such fathers as well. My son can take the credit for being an amazing father all by himself. Despite all issues in his upbringing, Brian has been able to raise happy children. He's always playing with his children, communicating with them by starting his sentences with please, reminding them to be grateful by saying thank you and saying sorry when needed. My eldest grandson, Thomas, would only call for his daddy when he stayed with me for a few days prior to moving to their new home. This should simply indicate who was and is his main caregiver. Oh, so he didn't call for mommy, only daddy. Now she's throwing shade on Anna. He's the primary caregiver because he's on house arrest and he doesn't work and he's never had a job that we know of, except for some weird cybersecurity training business, maybe. And no wonder he couldn't work because he had to take care of his mother and be at her constant beck and call. And Anna was the one who had to go out there and bust her ass. To make a living. Thomas was born early by 3 weeks. There were concerns as he was late to start walking. His father took him to all evaluation sessions, followed the exercise routines with his son on a daily basis. Thomas, rather than walking, started to run so fast. Hold on, we're a little bit behind, hold. Thomas, rather than walking, started to run so fast that only his daddy could keep up with him. But wasn't Anna in great shape too? Thomas needs to work on his enunciation. Oh, so now you're throwing some shade at Thomas too. Nobody's good enough for this woman, right? The poor boy was probably trying to run away. Right. He was Diana's primary caregiver. The kids went to daycare and had a nanny. Thomas needs to work on his enunciation. Brian was given direction to correct him, read books to him, and Thomas is doing much better. Thomas is attached to his father beyond measure, and that's italicized. He is very bright, sensitive, kind, fearless, and handsome. Thomas reminds me of his father when he was his age. Brian is the main caregiver for all of his 3 sons. He cooks, shops, cleans, plays, communicates boundaries, and reads bedtime stories. Who doesn't know boundaries? Diana Walshe. Diana Walshe doesn't know boundaries. It's like Yuri became like the husband replacement for Diana Walshe. That's the vibe that I'm getting, and it's really freaking creepy. I think Brian and Anna met in a hotel bar in Washington, D.C. You can correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I think that's where they met. My son is the one who ensures I get the latest updates about my grandsons, get to see them and speak or hear their voices on the phone. If it were not for him, my relationship with my grandsons would come to a halt. Insinuating that Anna doesn't like her and Anna would never stay in touch with her. That's what she's insinuating. Brian is very remorseful for his conduct and for the harm and pain that he's caused. Since his arrest, Brian has worked very hard to transform. I have absolutely no doubt that he will never break the law again for the rest of his life. I don't know. What about all the money he stole from your not even ex-husband? Because I don't think they were ever divorced. Brian understands that financial restitution is a must to repay for his conduct. He's working very hard towards that goal and will not rest until it is repaid. Perhaps the greatest indicator for true remorse is the extent of one's transformation. Brian has made great stride in that space. Brian has volunteered to work for good causes towards preserving human dignity and to become a role model his children deserve. He attended Boston Breakthrough Academy leadership development programs beginning in January 2020 and has volunteered to help nonprofit organizations such as 11 Spoonfuls Food Rescue Boston, Yes We Care, Torch Foundation, Habitat for Humanity, Refugee Support, USCRI, Ocean Conservancy, Cancer Treatment, and the Ashton Langford Basketball Academy. I'll say it again. If you don't have a job, it's real easy to volunteer and spend all your time doing that stuff. And by the way, I remember looking up that Boston Breakthrough Academy, and I'm not sure if it was this or something else, but is that the place? Is it like kind of like a cult? Isn't that where he met Jem? And it's kind of like a cult, and it's like an MLM scam for real estate people. That's not a charity, right? My son is also fully aware of the impact of his action on others, namely his sons and mother. His sons and his mother. It's all about his mother. What about his wife? What about the impact of his actions on his wife? Does anybody care about that? I mean, clearly she doesn't. He will never, all caps, put us through such trauma again. Until maybe he kills his wife and the mother of his children. I don't know. This didn't age well, did it? This didn't age well. He will never put us through such trauma again. What kind of trauma are you going through now sitting at his trial? Diana Walshe. What kind of trauma are his children going through? Your grandchildren. Where they are, we do not know. Technically, they're in state custody. They could be with a friend. We don't know. We don't speculate. They could be together. The boys, maybe they're not together. I don't know. But what kind of trauma are you going through now? Because your son, if he didn't kill his wife, is the dumbest criminal on the planet. How long does Lowe's keep surveillance footage? 10 ways to dispose of a body if you really need to. How long to inherit? Can a body be identified with broken teeth? When my daughter-in-law told me Brian was arrested, my entire system went into a shock. I bet she was pissed that she didn't get his call from jail, huh? I bet she was pissed that she wasn't the first phone call because Anna had to tell her. I was not able to hold in a sip of water while he was in jail. I ended up needing to see a psychiatrist, Dr. Donna Greenberg at MGH. Oh, poor Dr. Donna Greenberg. Watching my grandson constantly asking and looking for his father was unbearable. Thomas was 22 months when his father was arrested. He regressed where his vocabulary was concerned, and he was visibly anxious when his father was out of his sight. I'm going to suggest to you that there may be other reasons why that poor little boy is developmentally delayed. If it's true, she might just be, she might just be exaggerating for purposes of trying to get her son from getting jail time. My mother would always tell me every page of the book I read was another door of heaven that would open up to me. It was expected of me to get a perfect score on all my exams. One late night as I was studying, I asked God for the perfect score. My mother heard me and said that I was going to get the perfect score on my own. If I was going to ask God for anything, it should be something that I could not manage on my own, something big. And to ensure God would grant my prayers, I must pray for others as well. Your Honor, heeding my mother's advice, I beg and plead for your compassion and mercy for my son and all those who come to your court looking for mercy as you see fit. Respectfully, Diana Walshe. The hand that rocks the cradle says blinded by the light. So this was a letter, if you're just tuning in, that Diana Walshe wrote to the court in August of 2021 to the federal court for sentencing purposes, talking about how much Brian Walshe does everything for her and she can't live without him. Who wrote it? English was not her first language, right? Who wrote that for her? Number one. That gives us a little peek into the relationship between mother and son. It is chilling in many ways, and this woman knows no boundaries. Right. How has she managed since Brian's been in jail? That's a great question. Does she have a caretaker? She doesn't live in assisted living, right? That apartment complex is not an assisted living facility, is it? Does it matter who wrote it? Well, it does because she says that she's not familiar with the English language, so somebody could have scripted it for her. And I want to know why nobody ever seemed to have any curiosity about, does she still live there? I don't know. It doesn't seem like she's got anybody escorting her into the courthouse, right? People have questions. Lots and lots of questions. I don't know if was ChatGPT around in 2021? Christina says, do you think if it's a hung jury, they will retry him? Yes, I do. Absolutely, they will. They retried Karen Reed, and that was a far weaker case than this one is. So I do think they will, Christina. Thanks for hanging out for 6 months. That information was filed in his federal case. It was a letter of, like a character letter for his sentencing in federal court that his mother wrote for him. Gypsy Soul says maybe the knife in the cupboard was the one that he inherited from his father. Had AIDS, and that's why he Googled the thing about the knife in the dishwasher? Maybe. Did he inherit a knife from his father? I don't remember reading that. Thanks for your 10. Amy says, good morning. It's my birthday and happy to hang with you all. Happy birthday to Amy's Positive Pathways. Happy birthday. We're happy to keep you company today. See you, Buff's mom says, happy Monday. I got my Buff home Friday night. Me too. All's right in the world. Happy holidays to you as well and to all the cupcakes. Suzanne gifted 5 memberships. Susanna Clark, thank you very much for gifting 5 memberships. Yeah, ChatGPT, right. Rosie says it wasn't released until November of 2022. Right, there was a time where we had to actually write our own letters. We had to write our own letters. Thanks, Susanna, for gifting 5, and welcome to the 5 new members. Lisa says, question about the knife on top of the fridge. If trying to keep away from children, were the other knives up there too? Make it make sense for only one. Well, we knew that he was cooking on New Year's Eve, and so I don't know. He cut his finger. Is that the knife that he cut his finger on? Did he cut his finger when he was cooking? I don't know. I don't know where the other knives were. Did anybody ever look to see? A lot of people thought it was weird that there was a knife in that cabinet. I said, well, if you had 3 little kids, 2, 4, and 6, you might put your big knives up there too, but I don't know where the other knives were. So that's a great question. That's a great question, Lisa. Thanks for your 5. Glorified Shipwriter says about the coloring book. Thank you very much. Pika said, I watched other channels, but your channel is the best. Your commentary is objective and based on the evidence. XOXO. Angelique from the Netherlands. Oh, that is so sweet. Thank you very much. Thank you so very much for your kind and sweet compliments. We have the nicest chat here because we don't let the mean people participate. My chat, my choice. And so only the nice people are allowed to stay. The mean people, they're out of here. They're out of here. Thank you, Stacy. Stacy said, oh, wait, hold on, because it's a 2-parter. Stacy, thank you very much. Says, hi, Mel, big fan of you and the Snark Tank. I made a Karen Reed coloring book and dedicated a page to y'all. It's on Amazon. God save the Commonwealth and our sanity. And then she says, you inspired me to try something new after retiring from 22 years of AD military service. Thank you for your service. I'd love to send you a copy as the thank you. Email sent if anyone is still looking for a last minute Christmas gift. It's on her TikTok at Glorified Shipwriter, says Stacy. Let's take a look at the coloring book pages. We love coloring. Let's see. Thank you very much, Kendra, for sending this to me. Somebody sent me a tweet that says jurors are back in Dedham for more deliberations in the trial of Brian Walshe. Today, they seem awake, confident, and a few are dressed up. A verdict could come today. When it does, you can stream it live on Attorney Melanie Little. Because we'll be here. That's good to know. A couple of the jurors are dressed up. Oh, this is very cute. Very cute, Stacy. Oh, there's a coloring book. There's a coloring book picture of me. Oh, come on. This is too cute. Hang on. Hold, please, while we pull it up. I'll allow it. I just have to open this in a different tab. Hang on. Check it out. That's me. That's a coloring book, a picture of me in the coloring book. How cute is that? And I'm wearing a Dave Matthews Band hat. Let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger. Woot, woot. Oh, thank you. You're very kind to me. And look, there's the Snark Tank down at the bottom. And she's even got my background and it's perfect. Oops. Bobby Scissorhands Alessi is in here too. See that? And there's Michael Morrissey during his hostage video. This needs to stop now. This needs to stop. Isn't this awesome? I love it. You're never too old to dream a new dream, Stacy. Anybody? You're never too old to dream a new dream. Do whatever you want whenever you want. You can always pivot. Oh, wait, here's the cover. God save this Commonwealth and our sanity. The Karen Reed trial, activity, and coloring book. Oh, wait, well, it would help if I put it up on the screen for you. Great. Getting nothing done says I just bought one. Can we buy Stacey's coloring book? I'll tell you where to get it. Did you say it's on Amazon, Stacy? It's available on Amazon. It's called God Save the Commonwealth and Our Sanity. Hold on. I'll put the link in the chat if you guys want it. It is $15.99 on Amazon. Look at you, Stacey. You got 5 5-star reviews. I'll drop the link in the chat for you guys. What a great little last minute Christmas gift that could be for anybody that you don't know who to buy for. Price is right. There you go. Enjoy. Enjoy. Thank you, Picolet, for your, or Picket. I can't read what your username is because the usernames all got changed back. I'll add it to my Amazon list later when I have the opportunity. I will. Angelique, thank you, Angelique, for your super chat and for tuning in from the Netherlands. We have a worldwide audience. If you're watching us from outside the U.S., tell us where you're watching from. All right, let me put the clock back. You said Sue O'Connell just came up where, like up near in the hallway. The clock is a few minutes slow. But Kim says they have a different clock, like on the bench. Look, we got Australia. We have Sweden, Toronto, UK, Wales, France, Brazil, Denmark, Germany. The world is watching. South Africa, Scotland. I got to get to Scotland. I got to play St. Andrews. That's on my bucket list. Prince Edward Island, West Ireland, Germany. Ellen's like, I'm from Missouri or Missouri. Do you say Missouri or Missouri? Because I watched Ozark and they say it both ways. Czech Republic is always here. I know I just showed the picture of me. Malta, Poland. You guys are amazing. Cape May, New Jersey in the house. Argentina. I love seeing where people are from too. Finland in the house. I think they deliberate through lunch, so I'm not really sure. I love seeing that the world is Cape Town, South Africa. Scotland, more Scotland, a lot of Ireland. A lot of South Africans too. I love it. You guys are everywhere. We love you. Thank you, Angela David, for your 5 says. Thank you, Melanie, for all your hard work and detailed coverage. I appreciate you. Oh, I appreciate you more. Oops. Sunny says, thank you for all your hard work. Sunny says, I will celebrate 10 years sober on 12/23/25. Addiction is horrible. Praying for everyone still out there. Thank you. Congratulations, Sunny. Congratulations. Here's the thing. Every time I talk about addiction, my stream gets stricken by YouTube. They don't like me talking about it. They don't like me talking about it because for some reason they think I'm promoting it. The show that I did on Matthew Perry was completely demonetized and shadow banned, and I don't care. Because the ripple effects of addiction are enormous. Congratulations on your sobriety. 10 years is a long time, one day at a time. And you're never going to get sober until it's your decision to get sober, right? And so I feel like if Rob Reiner's son was forced into rehab all those times, how many times did he say that he went? That it's never gonna work until he makes the decision that it's something that he really wants to do, because you need to make that decision every single day. So congratulations to you. We have a huge percentage of viewers in the chat who are in recovery. They will all support you. That's really amazing work. And maybe you help others. And so that's what I'm thinking about. Rob Reiner's son, like, he grew up very privileged, right? And it's so tragic that he was homeless for years. But until he made the decision to be sober, it was never going to work. And so many parents have to just let their kids go and figure it out, because you can only enable a person for so long. It's so tragic. Hold, please. In fact, and I'll bring up Charlie Sheen again, because if you haven't watched the documentary, please go watch it. It's awesome. He also wrote a book. I got to get the book. And he also bought Flaming Joyride, says 28 years sober. Charlie Sheen also wrote a book, and he also has just launched he's just launched an alcohol-free beer called Wild AF, and the AF is for alcohol-free. And so when Charlie Sheen was recently live on Billy Bush's show like a week or two ago, and there were not a lot of people watching, I wanted to ask Charlie Sheen a question. I'm like, I have Charlie Sheen right in front of me. Let me ask him about his sobriety. Because I notice that Billy Bush talks a lot about drinking and talks about how, like, he doesn't think he'll be fun if he stops drinking and stuff like that. So the question I asked Charlie Sheen was, what advice would you give someone who might be sober curious? Tell us, how your life is better now that you've chosen sobriety. Because I think Charlie's been sober for like 8 years. And I said, if there's somebody like Billy who's sober curious, and then I was kind of joking about Billy, but he talks about drinking a lot. And Charlie Sheen had a great answer. He said, Melanie, he said, I always make it a point, something like this, I'm summarizing, not to give advice unless the person raises their hand. He said, I wouldn't give advice to someone unless they personally asked me for advice. And so I thought that was so interesting. Thanks, Bowie, for becoming a new member. And thank you to Angela David for becoming a new member. Mary said, the first thing I thought of were something like Manson-type murders. Merry Christmas to you and chat. Oh, thank you. You mean in Rob Reiner and his wife? Yeah. I mean, I thought a robbery or something. So horrific. Jolie Douglas is here and says, what a loss for all of us Gen Zers. Rob Reiner will always be the meathead to me. One of my earliest memories was TV every Sunday night. The first thing I thought was it was a Phil Hartman type Red Rum. People are telling me it was on Saturday nights, but I kind of remember it on Sundays too. Maybe it was both, Jolie. Thank you for your 10. I appreciate you so much. Laura says, with regard to Anna Walsh, accidental death or murder pays double usually for insurance. I know you're in insurance. It's interesting. Lawsy says the mom is giving Donna Adelson vibes. It's giving some sort of enmeshment that did not seem to be healthy to me. Thank you, Lawsy. Melissa says, I fixed the doc, so there's no links. Sorry, no worries. Jolie says, regarding the mother, the duck isn't quacking, whatever AJ's or whatever AJ's saying was. Normally, I would have confidence Mass State Police had ruled her out, but not the guys who were working this one. We didn't hear from any of them. Buchanan, Proctor, Fanning. Not a one. Thanks for your 10. Another 10. BZ says, I wonder where he got his narcissism from. Thanks for your super chat. And Jolie with another 10 says, I'm an only child and have the task of taking care of 2 elderly parents alone. I took a leave of absence to care for my mom, and it was worse than any job. Caregiver's depression is a real thing. It is. It is. There's movement in the courtroom. People are saying, all right, saying the prosecutors have returned to the, thank you for your 10, Jolie. I feel your pain in ways that I am not willing to share on the air, but I know where you're coming from. Josie from South Africa says, sorry, Dad, but your son went from art fraud to probably murder. What he might do next, if not for prison. Scary. Thank you. Right. Thanks, Robert, for becoming a new member. Peachy Tree became a member. Thank you, Knight in Blue 2010 for your super sticker. The feed is up in case they come back to court. Hi, Mama She. How are you today, my love? Says, I love Mel and our cupcake family. Proctorial misconduct says, imagine deliberating through lunch. I mean, eating Mickey D while looking at murder evidence sounds appalling. I think they'll go for murder too, hung if there's an issue. Thank you, Proctorial misconduct. I don't think they're getting a McDonald's for lunch. I don't know what they get them, but I don't think it's McDonald's. Thanks for your 5. Jam Cracker says, quitting booze and drugs was the best decision I've ever made for myself and my family. 30 years sober and grateful every day. Congratulations, Jam Cracker. And thanks for being here for, I think it's at 17 months. Thank you, M. Munch, for your super sticker. I appreciate you so. And Sunny, oh, we covered this earlier. Somebody says they want to try the Grinch meal. Do they have a Grinch meal in Massachusetts, at McDonald's? Jenna says, OMG, I have my final end of semester critique at 12:30. I will freak if I miss the live verdict. Well, are you on East Coast time? Because it's 11:30 now. And I heard that either the verdict is in or they're coming back to the courtroom. So we're going to see. But let's not jump to conclusions. They may have a question. They may have a question. But we heard there's some movement. And we're here for it. We're waiting. Grinch meal has dill pickle. Wait, Grinch meal with a Big Mac meal or chicken nuggets with a pair of socks? What? All right. Well, the court TV has stopped the verdict clock. We're on Law and Crime because they have closed captions, and many of you like the closed captions and you need them. So we got to go where we go. And we're waiting. And if you are ahead for some reason in some other stream and you spoil it for the people in the chat, you will be banned. The lawyers have returned to the courtroom. I don't know if there's a verdict or it could be a question. There's a lot of evidence back there, okay? Christy said, hi, Melanie. I help trauma and addiction survivors through hypnosis. My podcast is Trauma Killers Podcast. I'm sober 14 years. I love your podcast. Congratulations and thank you. Thank you for doing the Lord's work. And for your 10. Yeah, if you spoil it, you're going to be like totally banned for life. Like not even funny. And so don't do it because it's really fun here. And you don't want to have to be, one of the people that are sent to Block Island. Although it's probably really nice right now, this time of year. Block Island is a real place. It's between Long Island, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. You got to take a ferry there. So we'll see. I mean, people that sometimes there's misreporting out there. There may be a question. There may be a verdict. We don't know. Block Island forever. Block Island is so beautiful. I know people are like, don't spoil it because I don't want it spoiled for me. Brian Walshe is coming back into the courtroom. Okay, so we're just waiting. One source is reporting that a verdict has been reached, but we don't know. We're going to wait. We're going to wait. Maybe put it up on the banner. Well, I don't want to put it up on. Oh, no spoilers. Oh, that's a good idea. No spoilers, or you will be sent to Block Island. People, you know what I find? People don't really read the banner because so many people come in and they say, "What's happening? Can you fill me in? I'm late. Can you tell me what happened?" Right? We didn't know what was going to happen today, so if it's a verdict, we're here. Here we go. Tell your friends.
We're back on the record in the matter of Commonwealth versus Walsh.
The jury's reached a verdict.
Ah, they have reached a verdict. Jury has reached a verdict. I don't think the jury's in the room, though. I have to move my head so I won't be blocking. Okay. That's pretty quick. 5 hours and 45 minutes. The jury's been out. It's relatively quick on a murder case, you guys. I don't think it was a long time because there was a lot of evidence for them to review. All right. Justice for Anna. Justice for Anna. I think that's very fast, considering all of the evidence that they had to review. That is very fast. And I wonder if any jurors will speak to the press afterward. They have the they are allowed to if they want to.
Entering, all rise. Will the deliberating jurors and the defendant please remain standing? Everyone else in the courtroom may be seated.
Your Honor, may I inquire?
You may.
Mr. Foreperson, in the matter of the Commonwealth versus Brian Walsh, have the deliberating jurors reached a unanimous verdict?
We have.
Thank you, sir. If you could hand that to the court officer, please.
Brian Walsh looking nervous, as he should be.
Your Honor, may the verdict be recorded.
It may.
Mr. Foreperson, in the matter of the Commonwealth versus Brian Walsh, Norfolk Superior Court Criminal Indictment Number 2023-0091. As to count one, wherein the defendant Brian Walsh is charged with murder in the first degree, what say the jury? Is the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Guilty of what, sir?
Murder in the first degree.
Murder in the first degree, so
Guilty.
say you, Mr. Foreperson.
I do.
Guilty of murder in the first degree, so say all deliberating jurors.
I do.
Thank you. If you could hand that back to the court officer, please.
This time would move to poll the jurors.
The jury may be polled.
Thank you. Juror number one, juror in seat number one. As to the verdict of murder in the first degree, is that your verdict?
Yes, it is.
Juror number two, your verdict.
Yes.
Juror number three, is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number four, as to the charge of murder in the first degree, is that your verdict?
Yes.
Mr. Foreperson, is that your verdict?
Yes.
Is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 8, is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 9, is that your verdict? Yes. Juror in seat number 10, is that your verdict? Juror in seat number 13,
Yes.
is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 14, is that your verdict?
Yes.
And last juror, is that your verdict?
Yes.
Your Honor, all jurors answer affirmatively that the guilty of first degree is their verdict.
The verdict may be recorded. Please
Thank
be
you.
seated.
Brian Walsh is guilty of first-degree murder. The jury has been polled. It was unanimous.
So jurors, I want to thank you for your service on this case. I know that it went a little bit more quickly than we were expecting, but your service has been substantial. We're in the third week of this trial, and I appreciate all you did to be obedient to those rules that I placed on you and for your conscientious service as jurors in this case. I will be back to meet with you privately in a moment. You should feel a weight lifting off of you right now because I'm releasing of you those requirements. You can talk to anyone about this case or no one at all. You can do whatever research you wish to do about the case or not at all. You go back on social media if you want, news media. And I'm supposed to release you from that burden of being open-minded. But I hope you always go through your lives with open hearts and open minds, and new experiences and new people. I'll be back in just a minute to meet with all of you privately. Thank you very much, jurors.
Jurors exiting, all rise. Jurors, follow me, please.
If you're just tuning in, Brian Walsh has been found guilty of murder in the first degree. That is a life without parole sentence in Massachusetts. Life without possibility of parole. I don't think there's any deviation from that. The judge has no discretion. I think they'll set a date for sentencing, and we'll see where we go. We'll discuss this after court ends.
When are we going to be in a position to have the victim impact statements and conduct the sentencing in this case?
Your Honor, I believe that we could do it as early as Wednesday of this week, but I believe if it's available to the court, we can also do Thursday or Friday.
I know that Friday is definitely not a good day for the court because I have other things scheduled. I anticipated the trial was going to be running, so I scheduled other things, although we could do it Friday morning. Does the defense have any preferences to the timing of the sentencing?
Your Honor, given the Commonwealth's recommendations, we'd actually request Wednesday at any point, if that's possible.
All right, I think it will be. I'll just, the only reason that I wouldn't do it on Wednesday is I do want the victim impact statements, regardless of the implications of the jury's verdict. It may have bearing on my sentencing on the other counts to which he pled guilty.
That's right.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All rise.
Matter is continued to December 17th at 9 a.m. for sentence and position.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Court stands in recess.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Sue.
Let's see what the reaction is. They're usually told not to show any sort of emotion or reaction. I mean, Donna Adelson certainly did, but I think he was probably prepared for this. I think his attorneys probably prepared him for this. The red handcuffs are because the red handcuffs differentiate
Oh, great. We're here around. Oh, thank you.
prisoners that are being held in custody from other prisoners who are not. And they're walking him out of the courtroom. They have shut off the sound, so we really can't see. I want to rewind a little bit and see if we can see Diana's reaction to that. I think she has been in the front row by herself pretty much the entire time. And there's the beautiful courtroom. I just want to rewind it a smidge to see if we can get a shot of Diana in the courtroom.
Going to be jury.
Sentencing will be Wednesday at 9 a.m. We will cover that live. But my understanding, it is life without parole. And there's no judicial discretion on that.
Oh, great. We're here around.
Okay, there he is walking out. His mom usually is in that front row, and it doesn't look like she's there. Hang on, I just take it back a tiny bit. Maybe she left already. That's Matt Johnson from Court TV. I can see him. And that is a wrap on the Brian Walshe trial. 10 full days. Well, not even 9 full days of trial. Michael Morrissey was in the courtroom. Did you see him? Hold on a second. Oh, Justice Serve TV said he was. Hold on. Let's see if we can spy anybody. I mean, the only person I can see right there is Matt Johnson from Court TV. Morrissey needed a win. Is that him right there in the puffy jacket? Hold on. Is this him in the puffy jacket right there? Kind of looks like it could be. That's Anna's mom, black jacket with the short hair front row. Hold on. I'm going to have to put this on slow motion. I'm not surprised by the verdict. Hold on. I think a lot of people thought they didn't show premeditation, but a lot of people also think that he did because of what he told his federal probation officer. There's Marcy, apparently. Let's just do a little slow motion walkout. I don't know if that's his. I don't think that's his mom with the black jacket with the hood, because I think her hair is much darker than that. And so I just don't know. Justice Served tweeted that his mother had no reaction. Marcy was there. He needed a win. I mean, let's face it, the guy needed a win. Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns? How do you feel about the verdict? I mean, I think a lot of people thought that the probation officer's testimony, that he asked for the 6-hour period a week prior on January 1st to allegedly bring his mother home from surgery, may have shown premeditation, and perhaps that should have been explained a little bit more. You know, and then putting in his other appointments to go to the probate attorney the following week, that it could be construed as premeditation. Do you think the result would have been different had the defense put on a case? Do you think the result would have been different had Brian Walshe testified? I don't know. What I do think is that the issue of the suppression of evidence is going to be a very, very strong appeal. I'll explain that a little bit more in a moment. For those of you who are not aware of the suppression motion that was denied by Judge Frenier a couple of months ago regarding the outside the scope searches on Brian Walshe's devices, which I think has a good chance of an appeal. Stephanie, right? Stephanie is an attorney. Stephanie Slaughters, what do you think about that appeal? I think it's a strong appeal. I think that may be the reason why they decided not to put Brian on the stand, because it could only hurt. People speculate that perhaps Brian said something to his attorneys prior to his testimony, which made them feel that they could not put him on the stand. That's also a possibility. You cannot suborn perjury from your client if they confide something in you. That's an attorney that looks just like Morrissey. Okay. And so I don't know. Thank you, James, for gifting 5 memberships. You're awesome. People say he did it. I think he did it, but they didn't prove it. Thank you, James. Listen, I don't know that 5 hours and 45 minutes was enough time to really go through the evidence. And maybe there was just nobody thinking as critically as you guys were about other possibilities. He was covering for someone else. The $127,000 ransom from the Nigerian email address, that big diamond ring that didn't seem to be accounted for. Karen from Kentucky says, you can't direct your child's testimony. They have to live it, including when they will seek help. Thank you, Karen. We're talking about addiction and the perils and ripple effects of addiction. Thank you, Laura, for your $5 super sticker. Jolie says, All in the Family was on Sundays in Texas. I remember because it was right after 60 Minutes. I hated the sound of that clock ticking down because it meant back to school. To this day, that sound is a trigger. I remember Sunday night 60 Minutes too. Thanks for your 20. Jolie. And Jules says, Melanie, so glad your channel is honest and you vet every information before you talk about it. I'm Jules from Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Keep it classy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ms. 808 says, it won't be Hermes orange you wear, Brian. Hope it was worth losing your wife and children. Thank you, Melanie, for your coverage. We did see him in orange quite a few times during the Zoom hearings. And he would often have his face right in the camera. And, remember, he was attacked in jail also. I still don't know what that's about, but I think they are pressing charges against the inmate. Everyone, please hit the like button while you're here. This was a shorter morning than we expected. It's not even noon, and the jury came back right before noon. They didn't even get their free lunch today. Thanks on top for your super sticker. And then Lauren says something went down once the Commonwealth rested. Confession? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I think that they might have thought that they would have a cleaner appeal if they did not put on a case. That's what I think. A cleaner appeal. And remember, right, the burden of proof is not on the defense. So I don't think that's necessarily true, Lauren. I think that it just really would have muddied the waters. And then they could have gotten into some other things on cross that could have affected his appeal. And for those of you who don't know, but are asking, Lauren said, yeah, I feel like he confessed to his lawyers right after the Commonwealth rested. That's why he's not testifying and no case was put on. I mean, how would it benefit him to confess to his lawyers? You know what I mean? I just don't know. I just don't know. Can you talk about appeal and what Brian Walshe may do in regards to appealing? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. And I will, let me see how long the judge's decision was on that motion, because this is what I think the crux of the appeal. I mean, this is what I think their strongest chance of appeal is. And it is about the suppression of the contents of Brian Walshe's phone, the iPad, and the other phone. And all of the fruits of the poisonous tree that stem from it. And if there's any other attorneys in the chat, please let me know if you're familiar with the order and the facts surrounding the order. This was a 31-page decision by Judge Reiner. It was very well reasoned, but I do disagree with her on this decision. So here is what it is. I'll pull up the decision and I'll scroll through it, but I'm not going to read the whole entire thing because we did a whole entire stream about that. We did a whole entire stream about it. But you remember from listening to the statements of Brian Walshe, the recorded statements. Yes, they usually do stream the victim impact statements, and we're going to cover that Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Brian Walshe voluntarily gave up his phone, his child's iPad, and the other phone. Or no, 2 devices. And then when John Fanning went to pick them up, he took 3 devices. And they did not have a warrant to search the devices. They had a consent agreement. And so it's my opinion that they went outside the scope of the consent. They did a total phone extraction or total extraction on his phone and the iPad. And that's how they got his location data. That's how they got the Google searches. That's how they got the surveillance video of the dumpsters and the Lowe's and the Home Depot. And because, in my opinion, that was an illegal search, that's all fruits of the poisonous tree and should have been excluded or suppressed. And I think it's got a good chance on appeal. Let's just take a look at that decision because it gives us some of the facts. And the judge tells us in her decision that she believed Yuri Buchanan's testimony more than she believed Tracy Miner's testimony, his attorney. And her testimony was not televised, so we couldn't watch it. But let me just change this banner so that people know. Okay, there we go. If anybody's just tuning in, let me make it scroll so that we can take a look at this decision again. Brian Walshe has been guilty of first-degree murder, murder in the first degree. It'll be interesting to see if any of the jurors speak to the press, because I'd like to hear what they have to say. Alicia says, I've said it before, people don't understand or don't fully understand reasonable doubt. Thanks, Alicia, for your 5. Michelle Yerbell says, ABC reports director Rob Reiner and Michelle stabbed to death in home, son in custody, next case to follow. We just covered that earlier. The son has actually been arrested and he's being held on $4 million bail. Thanks, Michelle. We talked about it at length, but there will be much more to follow on that. Thank you so much for your 10. I appreciate you so much. I've been following that since yesterday when the story first broke. Horrific. Denise says Morrissey was sitting right behind Michael from Justice Served. Thank you, Denise. Did Michael tweet that out or something? Proctorial misconduct says, I'm so confused. They had no evidence to murder 1. I thought the Commonwealth had to prove it. I'm just, how? And people say, I disagree. And then Kim, who was in court a couple of days, the yellow Ledbettero, said, I think him on December 22nd asking for January 1st from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. away from his house is what the jury considered as premeditation. That could be. And then Journeys of Peace said, I didn't think they proved that she was no longer among the living. We have a lot of we had a lot of split decision in this chat. In fact, when we did a poll after the close of evidence on what not what you thought the verdict would be, what your verdict would be. %38 of you said not guilty. 47% of you said that you believed that Brian killed Anna, but it was not premeditated or murder 1, and that only 15% of you said murder 1. And then when we did a poll, I think it was Friday, when I asked how you thought the jury would vote, 44% of you said it would be guilty on murder 2, 24% said guilty on murder 1, 23% said hung jury, and 9% said not guilty. And that poll had almost 8,000. That had over 8,000 votes. That poll. And so it'll be interesting if the jury chooses to speak, what they will talk about as being their reasoning for showing premeditation, because they have to prove premeditation for murder 1. I didn't think they showed it. I didn't think premeditation was shown either. I didn't think they had any slam dunk proof that he knew of the affair. I didn't think that they had any, slam dunk evidence that it would have been financial. I think he probably snapped and something happened, and or he may be covering for someone. I just don't know. Just don't know. I'm glad I'm not on the jury. I'm glad I was not on the jury. Still want to know where his mother was on New Year's Eve, if she was at his house or not. Norman said, strange Brian was such a moron, but was able to clean up any type of human tissue but left blood. Not saying he didn't do this, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was a scam. Lots of questions. Right. I didn't think beyond a reasonable doubt that they could find murder one. But again, you never, ever know what a jury's going to do. You never know what they were talking about. You never know what a person could be hung up on. People say that they voted on common sense. I don't know. I think a lot of you in the chat have very, very different opinions than this jury. We didn't have anybody in the courtroom today. Multiple people in the courtroom confirmed that it was Michael Morrissey there. Yeah, the jury's come back. He's been found guilty of first-degree murder. If you weren't here, rewind. And then it was quickly over. Sentencing will be on Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. We will be here. Here's where I think the appeal is. This is Judge Diane Frenier's decision, memorandum and decision and order on defendant's motion to suppress information resulting from the search of electronic devices based on consent. And this decision came down on July 25th of 2025. And here, I want to see if I can find the consent agreement. The defendant argues that he consented to the examination of only limited data extracted from those two electronic devices, meaning his cell phone and the iPad mini. The data was extracted on January 7th of 2023. They did not have a warrant to search those devices until January 10th. All they had to do was get a warrant. The defendant argues he consented to the examination of only limited data extracted from those two electronic devices, namely, his consent was limited to non-privileged communications during the time frame of Christmas 22 to January 6th of 23. Communications, not Google searches, not location data, communications. Commonwealth counters that Brian consented to a full data extraction and examination of the two devices for the time frame of December 25th to January 6th, limited only to the exclusion of attorney-client communications. And the court, to her credit, held an evidentiary hearing on 3 different days. May 19th, May 20th, and June 18th, and received testimony from 7 witnesses. Cohasset PD, Officer Lawrence, Cohasset PD Sergeant Harrison Schmidt, both of them testified at the trial. MSP Lieutenant Yuri Buchanan, he did not testify at the trial, but on the day of closings, we rewatched his testimony at this evidentiary hearing, and it was chilling. Lieutenant John Fanning, who openly admitted during this evidentiary hearing that he just last week, 2025, went and backdated a police report all the way back to 2023. He was not called to testify. Connor Keefe did testify. Garino testified, and Attorney Tracy Reiner. 27 exhibits were admitted into evidence as detailed below. Here are all the things that were admitted into evidence during the evidentiary hearing. And the most important thing that I was concerned with were the emails to and from Lynn Beland, who at the time was Michael Morrissey's right hand, and Tracy Reiner, who was Brian Walsh's white-collar attorney. They never had him sign a consent form for his phones. Remember, they did that to, who's covering that? Morrissey speaking outside the courthouse, Nicole. See if I can get a live feed somewhere. Hold on. Oh, please. I got it. Okay, let me pull it up. Let's watch Michael Morrissey for a moment, shall we?
Remarked quite a bit about how this investigation or not. I mean, I think we've all remarked quite a bit about how this investigation was so different from the Karen Reed investigation with recorded interviews and all of that. So we'll throw
Sue
it back to you.
O'Connell
We'll talk more about it
speaking.
tonight, I'm sure.
Yes, Sue, we're watching as Michael Morrissey is about to step in front of a bank of microphones. This is, well, a very different development than in the wake of the Karen Reed trials, where
Can you
we
hear
really
this?
get
Good.
the opportunity
No,
to-
it's not very good. I'm going to boost it a little bit. Hang on. Oops.
hear from him. He's speaking now, though. Let's listen.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I'm Michael Morrissey, the Norfolk District Attorney, and with me today, standing behind me, some of the most important people in the event you witnessed over the last few weeks and couple of years. I have members of the Cohasset State Police as well as my trial team are with me today. Did an outstanding job. I would be remiss if I didn't thank the jury. This is a very difficult case from the beginning. Take time out of their schedule to hear such days of evidence, complex evidence, and a difficult case, and to come up with the decision they did. Without the jurors, our system doesn't work, and my heartfelt thanks to each and every one of those who participated and the alternates who were chosen as well. I'd like to thank the Cohasset Police, the State Police, the Medical Examiner's Office, and the Crime Lab for their hard work. It was an incredible effort. If you think about what you saw during the trial, there was all sorts of forensic evidence. They left no stone unturned. They viewed 60 witnesses, almost 60 witnesses testified at trial, and they interviewed even more people. So while you saw a good part of what we had, it was only a small fraction of the time and effort that they put in to get that evidence. And they went to dumpsters, to landfills, to dumps as well, to transfer stations.
Where's her body? Where's her body? Why didn't they drag the reservoir? Where's her body if they did such a great job?
Department stores, lumber stores, CVS, just to gather all this evidence, which was critical in this case.
And they gathered it illegally outside the scope of the consent. It's going to be overturned on appeal, and you and your MSP cronies are going to look like shit again. I'm sorry you are. We're going to go over it more after we listen to this ridiculousness. We left no stone unturned. Where's her body? Proctor was your lead investigator, and all of the evidence they obtained was illegal. So good luck with that. And thanks for thanking the jury, because you didn't do that in the Karen Reed case. It's in spite of the bad job that they did, right? And they did it illegally, in my opinion.
That effort should not be forgotten, and how hard it was. But without those tools and the evidence that they provided us, that the trial team, which I had the utmost confidence, very confident, professional people, long-term prosecutors in the office, had great tools to work with, but they also great people in their own right. And they put on a very, very great case in a difficult setting. Now, we've seen other cases where we've not had a body, but this is the first one I can remember we've had a first-degree conviction, and I just wanted to thank them profusely. I know that a number of them passed up vacations, work holidays, and they know what's expected of them. We took the job to speak for victims, and they did one heck of a job speaking for Anna's family. And I just wanted to also to say we did hear from Anna's sister, and her comment was, justice has been served, and we agree wholeheartedly with her comments as well. But they never lost sight of that, and I'd like to just personally thank Greg Connor, Tracy Cusack, and Yaz, and we have the Cohasset Police, Harrison, and the State Police, and the head of my victim services, Kristen Collins, also Laura McLaughlin, who's not here. She did a lot of the early work in the case, and so we had a great team, and I just wanted to profusely thank them. It's been a great day for us.
Where's Laura McLaughlin now? Where's Laura McLaughlin now? Was she afraid to show up for this trial because she knew too much about what was in Proctor's phone regarding Anna Walshe and this investigation? That's another thing that didn't happen here, was that Michael Proctor's communications didn't come out because he wasn't called by the defense. I got to take this back. Was Yuri Buchanan standing there? Hold on. Because we know Yuri was in court the other day. No, I don't see him there right now.
And the head of my victim services, Kristen Collins, also Laura McLaughlin, who's not here. She did a lot of the early work in the case, and so we had a great team, and I just wanted to profusely thank them. It's been a great day for us in the office. I'd ask Greg if he wants to say a word or two. Greg Connor.
Thank you, Michael. It was a great honor to work with Tracy and Ann on this trial, two of the finest lawyers I've ever got to know, and also to go against Kelly and Larry, who are extremely, extremely good lawyers. But I want to say thank you to our law enforcement partners, but in particular, one person who worked on this case day after day from the beginning was Sergeant Harrison Schmidt. When Cohasset lost one of their own, they stopped everything and tried to find this woman, and one person never gave up on that case, and it would be Sergeant Harrison Schmidt. Thank you very much.
Where is she?
Harrison is here today, so thank you, Harrison. So I just want to end and close by, let's not lose sight of the fact that Anna's 3 young children will be without a mother, and especially at this...
Go F yourself. Her name's Anna. Could you at least get the decedent's name properly pronunciated? Come on, man. Wow, this guy doing his victory lap, patting himself on the back when he's been in hiding since the Karen Reed verdict. Where's he been since the Karen Reed verdict? He needed this win. Listen to this again. Let me move myself out of the way for you.
The fact that Anna's 3 young children will be without a mother, and especially at this time, difficult time of year, and hopefully going in the future, that we all wish them a bright future going ahead. But let's remember in a special way the loss they suffered, and thank you all for coming.
What will happen with the children?
I'm not going to answer any questions of that. That's for another.
Any more reaction from her mother or her family?
We just heard from the sister. That was the only, so I passed it on. We heard that they called, and I passed it on to you.
Will they be making impact statements?
The judge, they're working with the trial team to schedule impact statements. I can't tell you in what form they're going to come in, but the opportunity has been extended, and I expect we will hear something, and they're working on that now.
What do you think actually for sentencing?
Excuse me?
For sentencing?
Well, there's a mandatory sentence of life, so, but there are other issues. They also developed other charges, as many of you have now heard, that there was a plea earlier to other charges, so that's being worked on. So you'll hear from the lawyers at the time of sentencing.
I'm sorry, they're developing other charges? What are you talking about? He pled guilty. He doesn't know anything about the damn case. He just showed up to get the pat on the back. Listen to him. Hold on.
Actually for sentencing.
Excuse me? Something, and they're working on that now.
What do you think actually for sentencing?
Excuse me?
For sentencing?
Well, there's a mandatory sentence of life, so, but there are other issues. They also developed other charges, as many of you have now heard, that there was a plea.
Oh, they also developed other charges?
Earlier to other charges, so that's being worked on. So you'll hear from the lawyers at the time of sentencing.
Do you think actually a win after the Karen Reed trial?
Actually brought this to guilty?
Somebody asked, did you think he would actually win after the Karen Reed trial? And then he's not going to take that question. He's going to take the softball. Hold on, listen.
Charges, as many of you have now heard, that there was a plea earlier to other charges, so that's being worked on. So you'll hear from the lawyers at the time of sentencing.
Do you think actually a win after the Karen Reed trial?
Actually brought this to guilty? You have no body, circumstantial evidence. What do you think was the strongest part of the case that convinced the jury this was guilty?
I don't think there's any one thing. I think it was the combined effort of working together with our law enforcement partners, the ME and others.
He didn't watch the trial. He has no idea about the evidence. He has no idea. He couldn't even pick one thing because he has no idea. Tell me if you think he watched the trial. Listen to that. That's such an easy question. That was such an easy question. And he doesn't even know because he didn't even watch it. Listen to that again.
case that convinced the jury this was circumstantial evidence. What do you think was the strongest part of the case that convinced the jury this was guilty?
I don't think there's any one thing. I think it was the combined effort of working together with our law enforcement partners, the ME and other professionals, the work that was done on the forensics, I think was important. But actually, without that and without people explaining it in the courtroom, we'd have nothing. And I think they all did an awesome job.
Did you watch the trial?
And I'm just going to say one other thing, because someone mentioned, it's not about winning or losing. It's about getting the right answer. And this was the right answer. And so we don't look at cases as a wins or losses. We look at getting justice for someone. So let's not lose sight of that fact.
Are you still going to try and get justice for John O'Keefe? Are you still going to try and find the murderer who murdered John O'Keefe? It's about getting the answers, right? Don't you want that answer? Are you going to answer that? Or are you going to try and find out who murdered John O'Keefe? Are you still investigating? Are you going to charge Matthew Farwell with any state crimes? Morrissey, isn't it about getting to the right answer? We know now that he murdered Sandra Birchmore and her baby, her unborn baby, because, you know, that's, well, he's accused of it, innocent until proven guilty and all, but your guys screwed the pooch on that one too. Wow. Hold on a second. It's about are you going to get justice for John O'Keefe? Are you going to find out who murdered him? Are you going to do something? Did anybody ask that question? If you're ahead, don't let me know.
And I'm just going to say one other thing, because someone mentioned, it's not about winning or losing. It's about getting the right answer. And this was the right answer. And so we don't look at cases as a wins or losses. We look at getting justice for someone. So let's not lose sight of that fact.
Walsh pled guilty to 2 charges ahead of time, right when jury selection was about to start. Did that change the way you approached this case and your attorneys? Obviously, they had been looking at 3 different charges. Now it was 1 murder charge.
You can hear right from that.
I don't know.
The case was always going to be presented in the same way. The evidence was the evidence, and we wanted to make sure the jury had everything that they needed to make a determination. The change of plea was an interesting dynamic, but when it came down to it, we wanted to make sure the jury had all the facts.
Greg, what do you think it was? The online searches? Do you think it was the surveillance video? What do you think?
Or the emotional testimony that people...
I can't tell you. That would be a question for the jurors. We tried to give them all the information we had. We had it from multiple different factors, whether it be surveillance video, the text messages, the internet searches. But what we had was a very thorough investigation that gave the lawyers in this case an excellent chance to try and give the jury what they needed.
Were you surprised that he didn't testify? And what did you want to ask him on the stand?
I don't know if
you don't have enough time for that.
I think
That's so funny, Michael Morrissey. That was Matt Johnson from Court TV asking an actually, interesting question, and they won't answer that. They won't answer that question. Matt, ask him about justice for John O'Keefe, please. If they're still investigating who murdered him.
I don't know if you don't have enough time for that.
I think that's probably better not said.
But were you surprised that he didn't?
The judge was.
I think it's always up to the defendant to make that decision. I think it's the hardest decision the defendant can make. And so I'm sure he put a lot of thought into it. We were prepared that if he did testify, we had a number of questions we wanted to have answered, but we understand it's his right not to.
So the question?
Yeah, over the past couple of years, a lot has been made of your office and the handling of different cases. Do you hope what happened here today restores some of that perceived lack of faith the public has?
I don't know. One loss of a highly visibility case determines what happens in our office. We handle cases all the way from the bottom to the top. We treat them all the same. There's no such thing as a single important case. This was a critical case, and you saw on display some of the smartest people and some of the toughest workers and investigators who have always been with me. So I think that sometimes you don't like what a jury has to say, but that's our system of justice. You present a case to a jury, and you have to abide by. At least I do. I took a constitutional oath. So I would just say today, clearly.
Michael Morrissey has never tried a case in his career. He's never tried a case. Keep that in mind. Thank you, Marcello, for reminding me. He took an oath.
At least I do. I took a constitutional oath. So I would just say today, clearly I'm much happier with the outcome today, and I'm very happy with the work that was done by the professionals who work both in law enforcement and the district attorney's office, and really I couldn't be happier. So
a lot has been made of you personally, obviously, over the last couple of years. We haven't really had a chance to hear from you. How have you been doing, and what does this say today?
Well, the good and bad news is, having been in office for a number of years in politics, unlike my time on Beacon Hill, I get to speak out. But many of you know that now as a district attorney, that if I speak out, that I interfere with an individual's right to a fair trial, then that obviously weighs heavily upon me. So I am now.
I'm sorry. Can we talk about your hostage video from August of 2023? Where you called Karen Reed guilty practically and talked about Colin Albert had nothing to do with it, and Michael Proctor never went to 34 Fairview, and how all of the innocent witnesses were being harassed because Karen Reed's defense team came up with some ridiculous theories that weren't true. The irony. That is jury tampering 101. Listen to that again.
In politics, unlike my time on Beacon Hill, I get to speak out. But many of you know that now as a district attorney, that if I speak out, that I interfere with an individual's right to a fair trial, then that obviously weighs heavily upon me. So I am now free to speak today on this trial with some limitations. And so not hearing from me, obviously, then I don't want to tip the jury or tip the scales and let those cases go forward without putting a thumb on the scales of justice. And, you know, I took the job to speak for victims, and we focus on victims. And that's what I'm going to continue to do through my tenure. So I just want to thank you all.
It weighs heavily on you. It weighs heavily on you when you did it weigh heavily on you when you released that 2023 August statement? Did it weigh heavily on you then? Is it weighing heavily on you now? Just do something. Can't you make him stop blogging about me? Just do something.
I know this is, a long period of time, and we have to come to the courthouse, and we do have some calls to make and try to reach out to some other family members and some other people, but thank you all, and hopefully it brings to a conclusion a very sad chapter in the history of Anna's family.
You've been listening to Michael Morrissey, the district attorney in Norfolk County. His team, this case led by prosecutor Greg Connor, has successfully convicted Brian Walshe of first-degree murder in the death of his wife.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, I'm here.
I mean, throughout the rest of his tenure, he had no problem speaking out when it was Karen Reed. Did he reach out to the Reed family to apologize about that? No. Wow, my mouth was open the whole time. I think I caught, if I was outside, I'd be catching flies. Wow. Is anybody going to ask about whether or not he's still investigating the murder of John O'Keefe? And he did say something about the rest of his tenure. Hang on. He knows. I don't know if he's announced that he's not running for re-election, but he knows he'll never in a million years be elected again. Hang on.
Other people, but thank you all, and hopefully it brings to a conclusion a very sad chapter in the history of Anna's family.
You've been listening to Michael Morrissey, the district attorney in Norfolk County.
Did you hear how many helicopters were circling overhead? How many helicopters? Did you hear them? I did. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Proctorial misconduct says the only thing this does is encourage the Commonwealth to continue in their less than honest ways. Put him away, yes, but with a verdict on a proven charge. Thanks for your super chat. Hannah says, the case law doesn't state that consent has to always be memorialized, i.e. written consent, and that verbal consent is sufficient. Minor in police interview with Brian Walshe said, we consent to all communication on or after 11:25. Right, communication. Communication is communication between two people. I'm not disagreeing with that. They didn't just find communication. They went after Google searches. That's not communication. Location data, that's not communication. Communications are text messages, maybe emails, maybe messenger messages, maybe Instagram messages. But what they took, the Google searches and the location data, is far outside the scope of communication. That's not communication, in my opinion. Thanks, Hannah, for your 20, but that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Communication is communication. It's not Google searches. It's not web browser history. It's not location data. Those are very different things. Gen X says, so status quo at Norfolk DA's office and MSP zero accountability. iMessenger, right? iMessenger even iMessenger. And then Hannah, I had started this earlier. You said the same thing. You said, I read transcripts from the police interview and Reiner said her client consented to all communication after 1225, right? Communication between people. I like it when you play devil's advocate. That's totally fine. The problem is Brian Walshe saying in a recorded interview, oh, sure, take whatever you want, which is what he said. And then they reached a written agreement. After that, the written agreement is going to supersede whatever he said, and he's allowed to change his mind about his consent. And so I think that's Google searches are not a form of communication, Rosie. No, they're not. Communications are between two. If you're doing, okay, Rosie says, Google searches are a form of communication. Really, Melanie? With who? Communication between me and Google? Is Google a person? I see you in a lot of other chats, causing a lot of other trouble in other chats. So, I mean, I've let you stay for a while just to see what would happen. But no, that's not communication. Okay. A Google search is not a communication. It is web history. So, fight me on it. No, she was harshing me for my opinion. Not the first time. The helicopters are all around, James. All around, huh? Yeah, it's searching the internet. 25 years on the job with NYPD says, I missed that chat. Google is not a communication. Take investigation 101. Thank you. Let's go back to the judge's decision that I think has a good shot at appeal, because that's what we were reading before we watched Michael Morrissey's presser, which was just horrific. Thank you, Magnolia Gypsy. Phone calls, texts, messages, handwritten notes, letters, that's communication. I know. Let's take that down and put the motion back up. I mean, sometimes we need to call upon Cardi B because we are being gaslit at the highest level. Yeah, now check the reservoir. Your investigation was so great. Why don't you go drag the reservoir now and see if you can find on his body. Does anybody have any curiosity? Yeah, Kathleen says, are the Google searches the same as the crime scene speaking to me? Is that the same thing? Soap API, thanks for your Australian, for tuning in from Australia. Says, with all due respect, with no due respect, eat my shorts, sir. Thanks for your super chat. And the watcher says, Morrissey showing up for the verdict makes me think he knew it was guilty of murder one beforehand. Smells rigged to me. There was a plant on that jury. I mean, I'm not going to go that far. I'm going to say that I think that, the jury could have a basis for finding him guilty of murder one. I'm going to say that I don't think it's going to matter if they win on appeal, because if all of the fruits of the poisonous tree are tossed, they have no evidence against him. Thank you for watching, The Watcher, and for your super chat. Meatball should donate his brain to science, says Soap API, to further the study of smooth surfaces for aerodynamics. Thank you very much. Hannah says, notice the only officer Greg O'Connor thanked was Greg Connor thanked was not anyone in MSP. Morrissey, he means there are no other extenuating circumstances for more jail. I can't see what that emoji is. Thank you, Hannah, for another super chat. And Galamasu says, I love a Melanie rant. Thank you. Mike M says, is the right answer getting the case turned over? Could be. I mean, it could be, because they need to, the Massachusetts State Police assigned to the Norfolk DA's office needs to understand that they need to follow a defendant's constitutional rights, okay? Whether you think they're guilty or not, you need to color inside the lines when it comes to search and seizure, right? And once we go through a little bit more of this decision, hold on a second. You'll see what I mean. And you can let me know if you agree. You can disagree with me. And Hannah, if you've got a transcript like of Tracy Miner's testimony, I'd love to see it because that's the only one that was not televised. Mom did it and he helped dispose of her. That's my theory, says Laura. Thank you. Hannah said, look at Greg Connor's face. He's embarrassed. Oh, you think he was embarrassed for Marcy? Soap says, this is like watching the Have You Ever Had a Dream Kid playing ventriloquist with a sack of meat. Thank you. Mean Uncle Cosgrove says, I have to unjoin on Apple, rejoin on laptop. I still love you, Mel. I don't know how that works, girl. I don't know how that works. Thanks for your 5. Intolerant says, wow, more Morrissey material for weeks to come. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And Nurse Not Lawyer says, love you, Melanie Cupcakes. Can't wait for Brenda to roast Murray at the next Canton Select meeting. Oh, that's going to be great. That's going to be great. I don't know when it is, but tune in. Jeannie says, appalling demonstration of grade A hypocrisy, Michael Marcy. And Crystal Justice says, how about we focus on justice for Anna and those kids? If Brian Walshe ends up walking because of their incompetence, then once again, that's not justice. You're right. You're absolutely right. And that is why they need to understand that they need to start doing things the right way. And my opinion is, as is the opinion of many people who live in Norfolk County, many people who have watched all the trials that we have, is that they have been doing this for decades and that they have it took Karen Reed's case to shine a light on it. And so many cases that are pending and where people are already sitting in jail, convicted of crimes, had Michael Proctor as their lead investigator. And that should horrify you. Back to the judge's decision. 2 of the things that I highlighted that she looked at, which I think were most important, were the emails to and from Lynn Beland and Tracy Miner dated January 6th of 2023, and a blank consent to search form because they never had Brian Walshe sign a consent form for his phones. Remember, they had Jennifer McCabe sign one. The judge's decision from July says, as explained below, after thorough consideration of the submission and argument of counsel and the evidence presented at hearing, the defendant's motion to suppress information resulting from the search of the electronic devices is denied. Let us move forward. And this is the court's finding of fact. This is Diane Frenier's findings of fact. The court makes the following findings, which are based on the credible evidence produced at the hearing and the reasonable inferences the court has drawn from that evidence. And here's where she goes on to say, the court finds that Officer Lawrence, Sergeant Schmidt, Sergeant Buchanan, Lieutenant Fanning, Trooper Keefe, and Trooper Garino were credible with respect to all material aspects of their fact testimony as reflected in the findings and rulings the court makes in this memorandum. And if you're interested in a deeper dive, I'll link in the show notes below the show that we did on this decision because it was a very long show. We read all 31 pages. We're not going to do that now. And then she goes on to say, as to Attorney Miner's testimony, the court credits much of her testimony, but importantly does not credit her recollection of the agreed to restrictions on the examination of the data extracted from the electronic devices Brian consensually turned over to law enforcement on January 6th, 2023. More specifically, the court does not credit Attorney Miner's present recollection that law enforcement examination of the extracted data was limited to communications between Brian and other persons for the period of December 25th, 2022 through January 6th of 2023. That recollection, more than 2 years after the interactions in question, is contradicted by and inconsistent with other evidence that the court finds more reliable and believable. So she believed Buchanan more than she believed this attorney, and nobody called Lynn Beland in to testify. She was long gone from the DA's office at the time, but she still should have been called, in my opinion. I just want to read to you the written agreement. And here's what it says. Oh, see, the Walsh's nanny, Robin, was leaving as they arrived at Brian Walsh's house at 8 p.m. on January 5th. No, nobody called the nanny. Beeland affidavit was in a discovery notice in 2025, says 3 Clerk Monty. Yeah, but thing about an affidavit is can't be cross-examined. So then there's some DeChico. And Brian Walsh clearly says, before you do anything, like download my phone, I got to talk to my attorney. And the detectives are allowed to lie to a suspect or potential suspect, right? Right, Scott? All right, here we go. Oh, of course, it says here that on the evening of January 5th of 2023, Sergeant Buchanan and Detective Lopes interviewed Diana Walsh and the 6-year-old child at the Walsh residence. This interview was not audio recorded. And then it says, during her 15-minute interview, Diana stated that she hired a top private investigator in Washington, D.C. to locate Anna, and she shared the contact information of that individual with the police. Diana confirmed that Brian arrived at her Swampscott home on January 1, 2023 without his phone, and that he asked to use her phone to contact Anna. After her interview, Diana was present for TW's interview, and he sat on her lap throughout. Nobody called Diana. Refresh my recollection, chat. The video of Brian going to the Swampscott dumpster, was that video from January 1st? Because remember, he asked his probation officer if he could have 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Diana Walsh says he was at her house. Was that when he was videoed at the putting something in the dumpster? Because the only stuff that they recovered was from that dumpster at her apartment, right? And then they go on to talk about the little boy's testimony, little boy's statement, which we talked about when we watched it on Friday. And then on January 6th, where's the written? I'm looking for the written agreement between the attorneys. So it says here, thereafter, Attorney Minor and F88 Beeland exchanged 3 emails between 3:39 and 4:06 p.m. I think this was still on the 6th of January. Yuri Buchanan was sent to Washington, D.C. to investigate on his disappearance. So Buchanan asked Fanning to go pick up the devices. Where's the context? And where's the content of the agreement? Does she really not cite the contents of that email in her decision? to my recollection, it said that they could look at communications between Anna and Brian between Christmas and the day of the seizure, December 6th, but that they could not look at anything that was privileged, any communications between attorneys. I'm going to link the show below that in which we went over this extensively so that you can have more information if you so choose to do the deep dive. Here's the Richard Walker email on January 7th, which is interesting because they really didn't get into this too much in court. They kind of glossed over it, but there was an email from Richard Walker 9984 at Gmail received by Sergeant Schmidt at Cohasset PD on January 7th, 2023 that stated, "We have the so named Anna Walshe with us here. We had a deal worth $127,000. She messed up. We have her here with us. And if she doesn't pay the money, then she'll never be back. And we know that the police and FBI are involved. Good luck finding us." They stipulated at trial that this did not come from Brian Walshe, that it came from a Nigerian IP address. But also there was a follow-up email in February with a picture that turned out to be a stock photo of a kidnapping victim. Beelan left behind McLaughlin-shaped skid mark. I don't know. Did McLaughlin, why was she taken off of this case? I need to know. Yeah, Nigerian IP address could just be a VPN. Exactly. Happy 1 year with Melanie. Thanks for the law with some snark. Much love. Thank you, Peaches. Thank you so much for being here for 12 months. I passed it. Let me, I mean, the contents of the email have to be in here, right? I got too many things, too many screens open. I mean, they even said that they stopped searching when they started finding the Google searches. So they knew that they were, in my opinion, they kind of knew that they were doing the wrong thing. Oh, please. I don't see where she quoted in here, Kathleen. Big old ducks, as we all know. Why 98% McLaughlin was pulled from the case along with Cannoni, right? Cannoni was assigned to this case originally. That's right. Case said also in the federal case, there was something about Brian being transferred money and that they weren't truthful about it. I don't know. I couldn't follow it. I wish we could have seen Diana Walsh's reaction too. Probably stone face. Yeah, I think they said, people who were in the courtroom said that there was no reaction. Brian nor his mother, neither had a reaction. Tomorrow night is the Canton Select Board meeting. Today's Monday, tomorrow, Tuesday night. Okay. Mandy Moo says they didn't convict him due to the amazing investigation. It was due to Brian Walsh's stupidity. So sad for the kids. So sad for the kids. One moment. Another interesting tidbit about this cell phone extraction with regard to the location data is that when we went through the pretrial documents, we found that MSP, Garino and Connor Keefe were able to discern Brian's location being at the dumpster at the Swampscott apartment building, and another day when he was actually inside the apartment building. That's how easy they could. They could pin down the location data. Might be in the defense's motion, Marcello. Thank you. I'm sure that's where it is, but I just need to find it. That's the only thing I got to do. Hold on. Yes, this is where it is. So let me just search for it. I think was it attached as an exhibit? Hold on. Oh, please talk amongst yourselves for a second. Can't leave you hanging. Will we ever know where Anna's remains are? I don't know. I think they should drag that reservoir. What do you think? Based on the fact that he had 5 of those big watertight orange buckets with lids in his Home Depot shopping cart? Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Should be easier to find than this. I'm going to link the show below. I need an assistant and a production team. Come on. The problem is these papers are like 30 pages. These motions are at least 30 pages long each. All right, here it goes. Here we go. I found it. Yay. I was going to look for it during lunch because I had no idea how long we were going to be here today. I didn't think that they were going to come back before lunch for some strange reason. I don't know why. Okay, here's the email exchange. Lynn Beeland wrote an email to Tracy Minor, his attorney, and said, as requested, the Norfolk DA's office agrees that in the investigation into Anna Walshe, any conversation between the attorney and client, Brian Walshe, is excluded from the search and examination of Brian Walsh's phone and Thomas Walsh's iPad. It is further agreed that, quote, any conversation between Brian Walshe and his wife, Anna Walshe, 1 week before she was missing, 12/25/22 and prior, shall be excluded from the search and examination of Brian Walsh's phone and Thomas Walsh's iPad. Should you have any questions, please contact me. And then Minor says, we consent to all communications on or after 12/25. If you want to go back further than that, I will have to get you a list of attorneys as he has used a bunch of them. And then I think she just wrote back something quickly like, okay. We consent to all communications. I mean, it seems clear to me. So I don't know. Let me know what you think. Why was Mommy Dearest kicked out of the courtroom? Who said she was kicked? She was kicked out of the courtroom? Where'd you get that from? Oh, Lisa Johnson says Vinnie Politan and Court TV are reporting that Brian Walsh's mother was kicked out of the courtroom before the verdict was read. That's interesting. I have no idea why that would be. I don't know. Me might have to follow up on this. Thank you, Ann Merritt, for thanking me for all that I do. She calls me smart and classy. You're amazing. You're amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And Charissa gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, Charissa. You're the greatest. And Gen X Jen says, so status quo at the Norfolk DA's office. And MSP is zero accountability. Yep. Yes, it is. And so, Hannah, that's what we just read, right? We consent to all communications on or after 12/25. If you want to go back further than that, I will have to get you a list of attorneys, as he has used a bunch of them. And if we're going to use common sense, and Brian Walshe knows that he made those Google searches and he knows that his location data is going to show him buying all that stuff, would he have agreed to it? Adrock94 said, I wonder if a defense would have changed the outcome. I don't know. Deborah says she wasn't kicked out. Brian Walsh's lawyers asked her to wait in the hall. Stop with rumors, please. Thank you. Thank you. Is it really National Cupcake Day? Happy National Cupcake Day to all of you, because we all do celebrate. We celebrate here. So she was not kicked out of the courtroom, but this is what goes on with mainstream media. That's what they report. So they had consent. Does that nullify warrants? No, but they had consent to just look at the communications. And instead of just looking at the communications, they looked at Google searches and location data. They did not even get they didn't even get a warrant until the 10th. The 10th. And by then they had already went around and collected everything. So there's that. Everyone go get a cupcake today. It's National Cupcake Day. Go get a cupcake. Thanks, you guys, for spending 2 full weeks with me, plus a day for the verdict, watching the Brian Walshe trial together. We had a good time. For many of you, it was not as exciting as you would have hoped, because you wanted to see Proctor testify. You wanted to see Brian Walshe testify. We wanted to see Buchanan testify. I think that we can all agree on all of that. But as I tried to tell you guys, it's not what we want. It's about a fair trial for the defendant, and it's about strategy of the defense. So there's that. The coloring book is linked in the chat if you need a good idea for a gift. And who knows what the day could bring. You may see me later, so make sure that you hit the like button. Make sure that you set the notifications, hit subscribe, because it's free, and then you'll know. And you'll never miss a thing. Thank you, each and every one of you. I am so grateful for you watching me, for your coverage, because I know there's a lot of places where you can watch your coverage, and you're amazing. And I'm tired. And let us all go forth and prosper. And stay cool, stay kind, stay classy. Thank the moderators, because they're amazing, and we couldn't do this without them. And so, luckily, it wasn't a full day today. We've only been here for, I don't know, almost 4 hours. Thanks, mods. I love you. Stay cool, stay kind, stay classy. Tell us your favorite cupcake in the chat. And also, comment respectfully. Thank you. I'll see you guys real soon. Peace. Peace. Right. Getting the warrant shows that they knew they didn't have permission. Stopping looking at the Google searches when they started showing things like how to dispose of a body if you really need to shows that they knew that they were doing what they weren't supposed to be doing. And we'll see what happens. I have a feeling we're going to be covering the Brian Walshe trial for many years to come, including the sentencing Wednesday morning at 9. There's also an Aaron Spencer hearing at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock maybe on Wednesday, but that is not going to be televised. That's the pre-trial hearing. So there's some stuff on Aaron Spencer that we need to catch up on. So we need to do that now that we have time. All right, guys, peace out. I'll see you real soon. Bye. Bye.